What is up, everybody? Welcome into the Dynasty Rewind Day 1 Recap live stream. As you can see, we're all live together, and we are going to be bringing you what happened in Day 1, covering it up for you. So I am joined today by my faithful co-host. We got Nate the Professor. Christian. Nate, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm so excited to have you guys at my house.
Are you hyped?
I'm hyped. Look, behind you is a lemon tree. It's getting some
This is
some showtime right now. I love it.
Beautiful. We are also joined by the Bobcat himself, Bob Van Duzer, flying in from Wisconsin, everybody, to be here with us for Draft Day. Bob, how are you today?
I just got done crying, so I'm here. I'm ready to talk and get into some sad things.
I will say, seeing Bob emotional on Draft Day was top 10 experience for me. We are also joined by Zack Duarte, Zack's Attack, aka the Bald Dome of Dynasty. Zack, how are you today?
I'm good. I was glad I was here for you guys yesterday because the Dolphins didn't have a pick, so I got to watch all your reactions.
Yeah,
Yes.
now we get to watch you implode today.
Yes,
Yes,
correct.
that is true. That is true. So let's get into it. Sean, do we have any comments that we want to bring up on All in One Room? I'm digging it. So are we. Colin, thank you for joining us for the live stream today, and we're loving this too.
Yep.
We get to hang out together, we get to interact with each other on draft weekend. It is great, and we're also hanging out with the Fantasy Gazette. He does not have a face that's going to be shown, but he is here in person. He'll be making an appearance in the chat somewhere. Sean, do we have any other comments we want to bring up before we get started? Questions, comments, concerns,
Complaints.
anything? So, all right. So KC Bulldogs, this was actually in before the live stream started. He's saying, wow, I think the Lions hate the dynasty community. So here's my question. One quarterback league, I traded for Amon-Ra St. Brown and need a running back. Still pick Gibbs at 102 or trade down? Bob, you're an Amon-Ra St. Brown truther, I believe,
Yep.
right? So what are we doing here? Do you like the stack? Do you hate the stack? What do you want to do?
Yeah, I'm not too concerned with it, to be honest. I think Gibbs is just kind of a messy situation to begin with. I'm not too worried about the stack between Amon-Ra St. Brown and Gibbs, but I'd like to see that cleaned up in Day 2. I hope Swift gets traded and cleans it up just a little bit. That
I
would
think so.
paint a very nice picture with just having David Montgomery as the clear 2 and kind of the more restrictive banger between the tackles and things like that. Gibbs gets to do his thing and shine where he shines. But I'm not worried about stacking those two players. I think it's good enough offense where
I think so too.
you don't have to worry about it too much.
And it's nice that we get to say that about the Detroit Lions. For the record, I think for right now, David Montgomery would be the clear-cut one. If you want to say, as Jahmyr Gibbs slides into his role, to me, this is a buy low window for DeAndre Swift because I think he gets traded. If you could buy him right now before the draft starts tonight as cheaply as possible, I'm going to do it. I think he's going to get traded to a good offense. I kind of hope he goes to Philadelphia, to be honest with you. Let's make that backfield even murkier. Sean, any other comments before we get into pick number 1 and its fantasy relevance? Does Bob cry to start the stream? He cried before the stream.
I took care of it beforehand. Appreciate you, John. Hugs back to you. Love you. I know we are both sad about the Packers' miscarriage of justice last night.
Miscarriage of justice.
So-
Bob's commentary on the American political system as well. So Colin is saying, I'm at the 103 and 104 in a one quarterback league. Think JSN is still the 102 play and Gibbs would fall to me, or maybe Jackson Smith and Jigba? That's a really good question. We're not going to go to Bob. Do you want to talk? You're the JSN fan here.
I think you're happy with whatever's at 103. Honestly, I still like JSN's landing spot. Like, I have no real qualms with Seattle outside of that it's not Green Bay. But honestly, for his fantasy relevance, things like that, I'm not concerned at all with him in that offense. I think he slots right in. Maybe not day 1 as being the one, but I think he can get to that point. I know DK's in that offense. Tyler Lockett's still kicking around, but I'm happy with whatever I get at 103. Honestly, I think both are pretty good spots. So.
And, Tyler Lockett pushing 30 years old, we've seen that a Geno Smith-led offense can support 2 wide receivers. So I'm not worried about it. It's going to obviously be a waiting game, a year, 2 at the most. But still, we know that these guys aren't going to smash from day 1. You have to be patient. So, Sean, should we get into it? Anything else? Okay, so our very own Dan Rozier wants to chime in. Questions I need answered. Who made breakfast? That would be Zack.
And Bob.
And Bob. Yes.
Yeah.
Hats off to you guys. Very good breakfast.
Healthy
And
breakfast.
who didn't clean their dishes? No one's cleaned the dishes yet. There's a dishwasher.
Not true.
There.
Nate and I threw them in the dishwasher
We did.
already.
Well, so technically they're not clean yet because they haven't been run through the dishwasher
Whatever.
cycle.
True.
These are the questions that we need answered.
These are
on
the
show.
hard-hitting questions. Thank you, Dan. Also, Dan, a question like that should be a super chat. Just throwing it out there. If you want to make sure it gets answered, hit that super chat button for us, Dan. So you guys want to get into pick one of the draft? Zach, Bryce Young goes 1 overall to the Carolina Panthers. What do you think about that?
This is something we kind of saw happening the weeks prior to the draft. I like the fit. I think it's a very good coaching staff that's there for a quarterback. The thing is, does this coaching staff make Bryce Young better? How much better can Bryce Young be? The thing that we've always discussed with Bryce Young is the things you can't really change. His size, you can change your weight, but how much playing the quarterback position? So it's a very interesting draft pick, in my opinion. I like the fit. I'm very much, if I have the 102 in Superflex, I'm very happy with Bryce Young. I think it's a good fit in Carolina. I'm not worried that I don't even think there's a lack of weapons there. There are weapons there, depending on how the coaching staff utilizes them. And you've seen with Justin Fields, like you can't really get too worried about year 1 and year 2. So I like this fit. I like this coaching staff that's there for Bryce Young. I'm a believer in Frank Reich and what he's been able to do. I mean, let's look at what he did in Indianapolis with a hodgepodge of quarterbacks for the most part. Sure. So I like this fit for Bryce Young. I'm very happy in Superflex leagues to take Bryce Young at 102.
I also think that the Carolina Panthers select someone in day 2, whether at the wide receiver position or the tight end position, to try to give someone young for Bryce Young to throw to and build and develop with.
What do their picks look like, though?
Well, I'll tell you that in just 1 second, Bob.
Let me ask you this. Do you think that this is a buy low window for Terrace Marshall, or does this open a buy window?
I've been buying Terrace Marshall for a while now.
That's why I kicked
4th round pick thrown out there. You pick up a wide
waiver
receiver,
wire
big slot wide receiver. I mean, I like Marshall still. You got Adam Thielen, DJ Chark there. I don't think anyone is truly like the bona fide one.
Yeah.
So, I don't think Marshall's going to have an incredible season and be a wide receiver 2 or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I think with how murky that situation is right now, like no one's going to take the lead. So Marshall's probably going to get his share, especially because he's a big slot receiver and that's how they're going to use him. And that's his best way to be used. So I think we're going to have some production there. Maybe not top quality production, but definitely some flex weeks.
To me, Adam Thielen's a buy low. People are really down on Adam Thielen. If you look at what he did last year, he was actually pretty productive for Minnesota. I think he was like wide receiver 31, but where you're buying him right now, he's so affordable. I'm all in on Adam Thielen. And again, I'm not saying that I'm buying Adam Thielen. He's going to be my wide receiver 1, and he's going to lead me to a championship. But if you're a rebuilding team, you don't have a lot of assets, you need to make some moves to get guys in your lineup. Bob, I see you shaking your head out of my peripherals.
You don't buy Adam Thielen to put in your lineup. If you're a rebuilding team, you don't do that.
Do you see this? You see what I get? Do you think Andy Holloway's co-host would disagree with him? I highly doubt it.
Yes, they would.
Yes, they should.
There's certain
They would
times-
call
They
him-
should
yes.
if you're buying a 32-year-old wide receiver in a rebuild. But if you're looking to flip them, I get it.
Yeah, you have to. You have. to
But
put
you
that
might have missed
caveat.
the
You
opportunity
don't-
by now.
Did I even get a chance to finish making my point? See, thank you, Sean.
I was
Sean's
waiting.
We've already heard it.
Poor
We've
Sean.
already heard it.
Poor Sean.
He's a good buy low. I like him as a buy low candidate. Again, temper expectations. Let's move on to pick number 2. It's a good thing he's not getting math tests on the field. CJ Stroud goes 2nd overall to the Houston Texans.
You mean he's not dumb? What a surprise!
Who knew?
By the way, the smoke screen before the draft this year, it was just, it's been gross in the past. I think it's the worst it's ever been.
Yeah.
Like saying that the guy is basically just saying he's stupid, he can't do this, can't do that. Like
It's rough.
he's clearly not stupid.
Yeah.
Okay, CJ Stroud knows how to go through progressions. He knows how to read a defense. And look, what you're going to see the narratives come back when he has a bad game, which any rookie quarterback's going to do. It's going to happen. All of our favorite teams, rookie quarterbacks, have had bad games. It just happens. But CJ Stroud goes number 2 overall to the Texans, and I love this fit.
Yeah, me
I
too.
absolutely love this fit. The Texans have needed a quarterback for a couple years now. Deshaun Watson, obviously, sitting out. We know that whole saga there. Davis Mills, he ain't it, man. So, Bob, your thoughts on CJ Stroud going to Houston? It's got to be a thumbs up, right?
Yeah, I love
Thumbs
this
up
fit
in the
as
chat
well.
for CJ.
Big fan of CJ. My quarterback won by scouting before the draft and everything, and I love this fit 100%. I hope they do address some weapons in day 2. That would be nice, but I just, you got to temper expectations for these year 1 quarterbacks anyway. So it is what it is. I'll take CJ Stroud at the 102 or 103 still in most Superflex drafts.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Let's look ahead a little bit. Are you going to take him or Anthony Richardson? Kind of a surprise going
That's a
at the
good
4th
segue
overall
right
pick.
there.
See, I'm the
Look at
segue
that.
master. Going at 104 to the Indianapolis Colts, and a lot of people had tied Will Levis still on the board. For the record,
Yeah, still on the board going into
Hey,
today. Yeah.
Colts could still take him.
They-
They
The one that happened something.
Look, it's happened before with the RG3 and the Kirk Cousins draft. I mean, obviously, Will Levis is not going to slide to the 7th round or wherever Kirk Cousins was drafted. But Anthony Richardson going 4th overall. I mean, we're talking about a raw player here.
Yeah.
Nate, you were talking last night during the draft. You're like, well, now I have to draft him.
Yeah.
So expand on that a little bit. How are you feeling working with Shane Steichen? We saw what he did in Jalen Hurts, going from being a rookie, and then Steichen and Sirianni come in. He improves year 1 as a starter to year 2. What do you think about AR in Indy?
Yeah, of all the landing spots, this is probably the best landing spot for his development
100%.
because, like you said, like with the previous work with Jalen Hurts and just the previous work of the Colts with quarterbacks and having the run game, a good defense, they're not going to rely on AR to win games. And I think that's important because he's not at that level yet in the NFL. Florida did that, and we saw how that worked out. They were very inconsistent because they lived and died by AR. And I don't think the Colts are going to have that problem. So he's going to have the chance to develop. And it also sounds like he's probably going to have the chance to start week 1. And
Yes.
because of that immediate production that we're going to get with Anthony Richardson, I wasn't expecting that before. I was expecting him to sit for a year,
Mhm.
And now that he's going to be starting, I have to, seriously consider him with one of my top 3 picks in Superflex, with one of my top 4 picks in Superflex, because that rushing floor plus the upside in his arm, that offense, it's all there. It's still risky because I still think Anthony Richardson is a raw prospect. Just because he's drafted higher than maybe I expected doesn't make him a better prospect. But he has that ceiling, and I think he's in a good place to get there.
Yep.
So this is something now I'm more willing to buy in on Anthony Richardson, seeing that he's in a stable situation that's going to help his development.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting. You're going to see basically a Nick Sirianni style offense with Shane Steichen's, little wrinkles. And it's going to look, you got a guy who's super athletic, fantastic arm.
Yep.
Michael Pittman stock up, Alec Pierce stock up.
I
For
think
sure.
year 1 might be a little slow.
Yeah.
Of course.
But
Of course.
And I still have my not doubts, but I'm a little wary about his long-term viability in the league.
Okay. And that's
Just like any
understandable.
quarterback
Yeah,
that's
of
drafted,
course.
because we don't know. But if he hits that ceiling, then yeah, Michael Pittman wheels up and Alec Pierce too, because Anthony Richardson has quite the arm.
He does,
Mhm.
for sure. So excited to see what Indianapolis does to give him even more weapons. Sean, let's go to some questions, please.
Maybe.
What we got?
You said you wanted to go to questions. All right. So, Colin, you guys talked Jordan Addison on the buy and sell video yesterday. Do you feel better about him at 107 now that he is in Minnesota next to Justin Jefferson? Bob is pointing.
Yeah.
Bob, you have thoughts?
This is exactly what needed and should have happened for Jordan Addison.
Yep.
Because what this is going to do, probably in your drafts, is this is going to hurt his value because he's not a wide receiver 1.
Mhm.
That's not sexy. So let's, kick him down the board. But this is what Jordan Addison was and should have always been expected to be. The little brother, the wide receiver 2 in an offense, maybe the second or third receiving option. I think this does great wonders for his, production at the end of the day. I think this is a great fit. This is the fit we talked about before the
That's what I
draft
was
started.
looking for.
This
Love
is
it.
exactly what we wanted.
Great spot.
Going back to that video, still love Jordan Addison. I still think I like Christian Watson more
Okay.
based on it because
right.
now that Green Bay has not drafted a wide receiver day 1, there is that much less chance that in that discussion, that bubble, Christian Watson looks like he's still the guy. And I'll take the wide receiver 1 in that offense with the explosivity that he has over the Jordan Addison number 2, especially when you're talking about the expectation of what the players have.
Bob, I will say there's still time for the Packers to draft Jalen Hyatt.
Yep, there is, which would be great. He'd be the wide receiver 4 in that offense.
And I want to say this: if people are concerned about Jordan Addison not being the wide receiver 1 on a team, look, just because you're not a wide receiver 1, it's not a bad thing. T. Higgins is a wide receiver 2 on his team. Devonta Smith. These are guys that put up extremely good numbers year in and year out. So it's not an end all be all. And if that causes your league mates to panic and you get to scoop up value, sign me up for that. Sean, what do we got next? Do I hop off of the Swift train for a 23-202, 1 quarterback 8-12 team. Yeah, dude, if I'm going to get the 202 for DeAndre Swift, I think I'm taking the 202.
I'm taking that all day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all day.
for
I think
sure.
at this point,
I think it's an overpay for DeAndre Swift right now. Personally, at this point in time, I'm taking the 202.
Yep. I
Yeah.
think, I do expect him to get traded,
I think so
but
too.
either way, he's on a 1-year deal.
Yeah, for sure.
He's not been healthy, and
Uh-oh.
I'm willing to move on.
Bob has thoughts.
I don't think you move on right now. This is not when you move off the Swift train because
For
he
the-
does
not even for the 202.
because he has the chance to get traded tonight. If he gets traded tonight to any backfield that's worthwhile, he's worth more than that 202 immediately.
But you're taking
That-
a chance because what if he doesn't go to the Eagles? Or the
Then he's still
Falcons?
worth the 202.
Maybe.
Nothing changes in his backfield right now. It changes.
Well,
the value
Bob-
changes if he goes away.
What Bob is saying is, don't trade him right now. Maybe wait for the NFL draft to be over
Yeah.
to then pull the trigger on that
Yeah,
trade.
because
Like
that-
leave that one in your inbox.
The only thought is that they could have that buy low in mind at the end of the day, that they're expecting him to move on and that they're going to get him at a lower cost. So maybe that offer goes away or doesn't happen. But you lose. I think you don't have any leverage moving him right now. I'm all for moving off players that I don't believe in long term, but I don't think this is the proper value to do it.
Right, so Nate, you and I are taking the 2-2, right?
Yeah,
And
because
these
I
guys
don't
are not
I
taking
don't
the
want
202.
to risk it with Swift. I don't trust him. And I don't, even if he goes somewhere else, I understand what you're saying. Like if he goes to the Bengals, the Dolphins, something like that, yeah, he probably can get like a late
Yeah.
first, maybe a 24 first or
He
whatever
could go to the Rams.
off the hype. But he
and-
could go to the Rams. He could go
Maybe
to
that.
New England, and then I'm not going to get the
Ooh.
202 for him.
Yeah, exactly. So it's one of those things where you have to play your cards
Yeah.
here. Nate and I were on board with the 202. Zach and Bob are over there being wrong, and they're not taking it. So, Sean, what do we got next? All right. So this is from Andy. Nate,
wonder
do you
who set
still
that
have- Nate, do you still have Bateman and Adams same tier? Asking for a friend. LOL. Serious, Nate. Are you excited about Zay Flowers? So, Nate, this is a question. for
Zach
you. Go ahead.
is the friend.
Yeah. So I've over the year, with the injury, I did move off of Bateman. He went quite down my rankings over the year. And with the OBJ signing and everything, I love Flowers though. I think he's going to fit this offense very well. I'm actually pretty excited about Todd Monken coming in as the offensive coordinator. I'm excited to see a non-Greg Roman offense. I'm excited to see something built around Lamar's arm because I think Lamar is a great thrower of the football. And I think with this offense where they're going to be using their tight ends just as much, and now we have some more talent at the wide receiver position. I mean, the Ravens have more talent at the wide receiver position right now than they've had in their entire franchise history.
Yeah.
I mean, it's never been
Anquan
as good as it
Boldin.
is right now. I love Anquan
I
Boldin.
love Dan Crumble.
But
Great player.
right now, the depth we've never had 3 starting wide receivers, to be quite honest.
No, not
Yeah.
in recent
So,
memory to begin with.
Rashad
period.
Perriman?
And actually, I do like Devin Duvernay as our 4 right now. That seems great. So,
James
but
Boucher,
Zay Flowers.
Tylen Wallace.
I mean, I've been on Zay Flowers for a while now,
Sean Jackson.
Yeah.
and his yards after the catch ability is exactly what this team needs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think he's gonna be the starting slot receiver. And I think Lamar loves throwing to the slot. And I think they're going to get him in a lot of opportunities to create yards for himself.
Yeah.
Zay Flowers is going to have volume. He's going to have efficiency. I think it's going to be a really good landing spot. But people are going to see the Ravens offense, think of the Greg Roman offense, and not see that. So I think Zay Flowers is a buy. And I'd be willing to take him, in the Superflex draft, 109, I think is what I'm looking at right now, waiting
Yeah.
on where the running
Good
backs
range.
land.
Yeah.
109, 110 if I'm looking to pick up a wide receiver and Addison's off the board.
I think what this does, though, and we had this discussion yesterday, Nate, is it kind of puts Bateman where he's supposed to be, right, in terms of value. And because it wasn't just you, like a lot of people have been hyping up Bateman. And I think this is good for Bateman.
I think so too.
Him not being the sole focus of the passing offense. This is great. And let's not forget that, Mark Andrews is there as well. So I think as long as Todd Monken turns this offense into a passing style offense, like Nate said, based around Lamar's arm, this is a good thing for everybody, in my opinion. Yeah.
So Nate is saying that the Baltimore Ravens are winning the division this year.
Absolutely.
Think so?
The North is not
Oh.
enough.
It's
I don't
not
care
enough.
about the division. Give me a Super Bowl.
And look, I really think that they
Well,
could win the
I don't think
division
you're
with
getting
all
the
these
division
additions.
anyway. So
I mean, Cincinnati is going to be a tough out, of
Cincinnati's
course.
there. So
We got the best defense. in the
Pittsburgh
league.
still
Yeah.
breaking in a new quarterback, and I just really hope that the Browns don't win a game until Deshaun Watson is gone. So, Sean, let's give us another one. And Tim, thank you. Super chat.
appreciate you, Tim.
What's the rewind consensus on Quentin Johnston stock? Can I consider him as the wide receiver 1-2? And look, you have to draft capital has to play into it. If you recall, as of last year, Drake London wide receiver 0 in Dynasty. So Quentin Johnston going off the board pretty early in round 1. I believe he was the second wide receiver off the board.
Yeah, pick 21.
Yeah,
Pick
there you
20.
go. So Nate, what are we thinking here? consider him as a wide receiver 1 or 2. It's obviously very highly thought of by the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, the Chargers landing spot, yeah,
Love
I
it.
love it. I hate it.
Love it. Oh,
Because
Okay.
Mike Williams there, Keenan Allen's there, and
For
both
now.
of them.
For now, if you're going to wait on some of these other guys to leave and a player to blossom, same thing for Quentin Johnston, right?
I mean, it's true, and we know Quentin Johnston is a more raw wide receiver prospect. There's still some development there for him to be able to have a high volume role in the NFL. And I think this is a great spot for him to have that time to develop. He's not going to be asked to be the wide receiver 1 on a team right away. I thought if he went to a team where they inserted him as the 1 right away, that it would be really bad for his development.
I 100% agree with that.
And, maybe he's the wide receiver 3 to start at this point, and that's where it's going to be. But I think, if we're not focused on early production for QJ, which I don't think we ever should have been,
True.
this works just fine because I think production year 1 is going to be a little bit lacking, but the potential is there. And if he starts showing, signs of more consistency by the end of the season, I think he could be set up for a huge year 2 because Keenan Allen, like you said, he might only be there 1 more year. Mike Williams,
he has an easy out after this year.
He has an easy out after this year. He's injured half the games. QJ is going to get plenty of playing time this year. That's for sure. Because between the two of them, they'll miss at least a whole season. So QJ is going to be there. He's going to get opportunities. He's going to be able to develop. I think developing behind Mike Williams will be useful for him because he's not a guy that necessarily attacks the ball in the air as much as I would like him to. Mike Williams does an incredible job of that.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, it's important to keep in mind, Tim, that just because they are the wide receiver 1 or 2 in this class, they might not be the wide receiver 1 or 2 on their team to even start out. And there's a possibility if you can't get Quentin Johnston right now where you are drafting, the time to buy is this time next year when everybody is just
I only disagree.
I
only disagree because both Keenan Allen and Mike Williams have potential outs
I think
after this
by
year.
the end of the season.
What I mean by that is when the next rookie class comes in and everyone's so hyper-focused on the next incoming class, I like to buy the forgotten about second year guys that people aren't talking about.
I think he'll be probably rated similar to Christian Watson is right now, though.
I can agree with that. I think he'll be pretty talked about when Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are both getting cut.
He won't be that
before the draft. Okay. So, I mean, I just don't think the buy low is then. I think it's going to be closer to the end of the season, like Nate said. I think that's going to be the time when that's not being thought about, when you have a competitive team that may be trying to make a push. They had a late first round pick to go draft Quentin Johnston with. He's not really producing. They want to get something better on their team that could help now as a veteran. I think that's when you try to make your move.
Is this a situation where, because there was 4 wide receivers drafted together, and if I'm thinking about those 4 wide receivers, I kind of have QJ ranked 4 out of those 4.
Same.
I agree with
I like Zay Flowers in Baltimore
grades
more. I like JSN in Seattle more. I like Jordan Addison and I like all those fits more. And I think that we are talking about specifically Jordan Addison because it's the Chargers and not because it's Jordan Addison. Like I am
QJ.
I'm sorry, yeah, about Quentin Johnston.
Too.
About Quentin Johnston, then it is because he landed with the Chargers. So for me, I just keep thinking about what we said about Quentin Johnston before he was drafted with the Chargers. There's that potential bust situation.
That's
with him.
any of these players in the first round.
But I feel like Quentin Johnston, me personally, and again, you guys are the expert more than me, of all those 4 receivers, is the leading candidate to be a bust.
Yeah, he's the riskiest.
Why are you here, Zach?
Yeah,
I'm not the expert on the scouting.
Just on Hendon Hooker. But I will say the last thing with Quentin Johnston, you got to keep in mind too, he's linked to a top 5 quarterback.
Yeah,
he's linked to Herbert, so you can't rule that out. That's going to bump his value easily. I think for a lot of people, he is going to be wide receiver 2, and probably considered as 1 for some. Yeah. And I think when you really boil it down, I think that's justified with what he can do, the potential and things like that. If you like to swing that way for, big boomer bust potential, that is definitely something to consider with Quentin Johnston.
Yeah, I think Quentin Johnston's going to unfortunately be one of those players that people will take before I'm ready to take him. As much as I like him and his potential and the fact that he's linked to Justin Herbert, like Bob said, people are going to have him as 1 or 2 in the class. I have him as my 4 at this point.
Okay. Yeah. So Chevin chiming in. Chev, sorry you couldn't make it to the draft and hang out with us, but I get it. He's saying, I'm so glad he went to the Chargers. Route running was a little concerned. Now he gets to learn from Keenan. Absolutely. And Keenan Allen, fantastic route runner himself. So let's get back to the draft itself. And we have some players that we don't care about because they're not getting you fantasy points. But pick number 8, RB1, Bijan Robinson. So now my question is this.
Dynasty RB1.
First running back off the board. And we had heard from the NFL draft pundits that the day of the round 1 running back is dead. Well, The NFL said not so fast. So my question to you guys is this: Bijan Robinson, the first running back off the board. Every mock draft that I've done or seen, Bijan Robinson was the consensus 101. In a Superflex league, does Anthony Richardson going at 4? Does that change it? Does anyone take AR at pick 1, or is it still Bijan or bust?
People will take AR at 1.
People will.
Okay. All right.
I think they'll take Bryce at 1. I think they'll take CJ at 1. I think more often than not, it's Bijan.
My question to you, PFF, is this: with Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Desmond Ridder, who is stopping this offense? It's going to be a good offense, though.
Hits.
It's going to be good rushing.
And Kyle Pitts, yes. I think Desmond Ridder gets a chance. If you need a quarterback, you could do worse than Desmond Ridder right
They can take
now.
Will Levis top of the second. They can take Will Levis.
We'll see. Hey, that, like I said, as of right now,
quarterback battle.
as of right now, 10:27 a.m. on day 2 of the draft, when round 2 has not happened yet.
I know.
Desmond Ridder is the guy. Zack, Bijan Robinson. How are we feeling about the Atlanta Falcons landing spot? My heart is weeping for all my Tyler Algier shares, but I got that 1 year out of him.
Should have flipped him.
Hey, I got, where I drafted him so late, if I couldn't get any return on him.
Yeah.
And look, the fact is, running back is an extremely physical position. Bijan could miss time at some point. Algier is the direct backup.
Sure.
You have a handcuff. Worst case scenario, you sell him to the Bijan Robinson owner.
Right.
So the value is not dead, but
Diminished.
The
Zack,
production.
Rest in peace to Cordarrelle Patterson shares.
Oof.
That happened a long time.
Yeah,
this is interesting from 2 different standpoints. From the fantasy standpoint, it's a phenomenal fit.
I agree.
Like, what better rushing offense than Arthur Smith's rushing attack?
Nick Sirianni's would be better.
No. Who
Didn't they-
comes from
didn't they lead the
Tennessee,
league
where they
in
have
rushing
Derrick
this year?
Henry? Yeah, because of your quarterback.
Volume.
When we're talking about the running back specifically, Bijan to Atlanta is a beautiful fit. But when I think about this NFL wise, I understand he's a generational talent, but to use a number 8 pick on a running back when you had a 5th round pick on a rookie deal run for 1,000 yards last year, does that make all the sense in the world? Like, let's be real here.
Well, the Giants did it with Saquon Barkley when they needed other things.
And how did that work out for them?
It didn't.
Exactly.
Didn't. Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with you. I think there's other directions they could have went in, but we're not here talking about that. I want to know what you think.
Fantasy wise,
You're a huge
it's
fan
a
of this,
phenomenal
right?
fit.
I love the fit. I think it's
fantasy
great.
wise. Like, how can you not like this fit fantasy wise? And I as much as the Colts and Anthony Richardson being paired together elevates Anthony Richardson's stock, I think Bijan's stock gets elevated by landing in this offense too.
Yep.
So I could not imagine taking AR or Bryce Young or anybody over Bijan at this point at 101 super flex draft.
I think we were talking last night. This is the optimal landing spot for Bijan Robinson because for fantasy football, volume is king.
Yeah.
And we've seen Arthur Smith, when he gets a running back he likes, Derrick Henry, they run the offense through this running back.
Mm-hmm.
And Bijan Robinson brings something that Derrick Henry has never brought to the table, and it is elite receiving ability. So I'm expecting Bijan maybe not to get as many carries as Henry. That's where Tyler Algier will come in and take some carries. But touches wise, I expect him to get pretty similar to Henry. And when you add in those targets that he's going to get, I mean, just the fantasy production is going to be very impressive. And I mean, Bob and I were talking last night. I think there's an argument to be made that in a super flex startup, Bijan Robinson is the 101 over any quarterback.
Wow. You hear that?
Because of the positional scarcity at the running back position, the fact that you can get one of 8 top quarterbacks, 9 top quarterbacks, you can only get one Bijan Robinson.
It's true. Bob, you have anything to add?
I do. I think at the end of the day, I think Bijan has to be the first pick off the board, because if you look at everybody else, he's the only secure asset.
Mm-hmm.
The only asset that unless he, God forbid, blows both his ACLs in the first 2 years. I'm just saying,
don't do this.
There is no way he's bust proof at the end of the day. And all these quarterbacks, as good as they are, quarterbacks are finicky. Hardest position to evaluate.
True.
At the end of the day, I think Bijan has to be your 101 in rookie drafts. And if it's not for you right now, I think, and you can't get a good trade down, you draft him anyway and you trade him later for a haul, because you will get value for Bijan.
Yeah.
Nobody is going to let that production sit on your roster.
For sure.
You will have, vultures coming for him 100% of the time. So I'm taking Bijan 101 no matter what. As much as I do acknowledge that people will draft over him, whether that's right or not, to be decided at a later date, I guess.
So Bob is Bijan or bust, and he thinks you should be too. And let's move on. We'll talk one more offensive skill position, and then we'll take some more comments. The Lions shocking the world and saying, "Screw you, DeAndre Swift." They trade up for, or they traded back, right?
They traded back.
They traded back, and they picked up Jahmyr Gibbs out of Alabama. Jahmyr Gibbs, and you were saying before the draft, Jahmyr Gibbs was projected in that 20
to 31
something
range.
like that, which I think would have been fair. But look, they traded back. They got some extra draft capital. They got their guy in Jahmyr Gibbs. So we got David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, and DeAndre Swift for now in there. I don't know what to think about this. I really didn't want Jahmyr Gibbs to go to the Lions personally. But, he's there now. So, Nate, what are we doing with Jahmyr Gibbs' fantasy stock here?
Yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs, I don't have many worries long term.
Okay.
Because
I agree.
David Montgomery, I think they have a year. They can get it out after 1 year. Swift's on a 1 year deal and likely to get traded. So a year from now, we can be looking at Swift as the bona fide RB1 in this backfield. Gibbs.
You
Sorry.
said so. That's okay.
Sorry.
Just wanted to clarify for everybody.
Gibbs. But-
Bijan is so good. He's going to be the RB1 in that backfield.
But the thing with Gibbs is he's got that receiving ability.
He does. He's got the chops.
And it's going to be interesting how that's used because usually he would line up in the slot. Amon-Ra St. Brown's probably going to be lining up there. So we'll see how those two players kind of interact because they kind of work around the same area of the field. But I think they're going to run the ball with Gibbs a lot. I think they're gonna, because people talking about how Gibbs wasn't a great runner between the tackles during this pre-draft process. And I think with Bijan Robinson being in this class, Jahmyr Gibbs was underrated. And I think we can see that by the fact that he was picked up 12th overall in the NFL draft. Now, whether or not that's the correct move to make for an NFL team, we can argue that easily, I'm sure. But either way, they thought his talent was good enough for a top 15 pick.
Yeah.
And I mean, as much as I love Gibbs, I didn't expect that. But we have to look at that draft capital. Like last year, when the Commanders picked up Jahan Dotson and they drafted him at 17 overall.
Love
that was telling us the NFL believed in Jahan Dotson. And look how it turned out. We're seeing that Jahan Dotson, like we thought, is a really good wide receiver. Jahmyr Gibbs, we have to look at the draft capital. It's murky right now, but the volume is coming. The offense is going to be built around him for that running game. He's going to get plenty of receiving work. I'm really excited about Jahmyr Gibbs, and I think that this landing spot kind of devalues him a little bit in rookie drafts.
I do.
And you're going to be able to pick him up later until this situation gets figured out in the backfield. So if Swift gets traded today, tomorrow, Gibbs will move back up the board a little bit. But I think right now he's going to be dropping, easily to the middle of the round, if not to the back half, if people really like some of these wide receivers. So I think Gibbs is going to be a value no matter where you pick him.
I don't know if Swift's trade or non-trade changes Jahmyr Gibbs' value.
I don't think it changes much.
Because at this point, I just don't see DeAndre Swift being a part of that offense. They don't believe in him clearly.
Yeah.
And he's now the third option. So whether or not he's traded to me, it doesn't, I agree with you. I think somebody might pick a quarterback over Jahmyr Gibbs because of the murky situation in year one. But I agree with you that his value is absolutely there because of the 12th overall draft capital.
Yeah. What changes is his perceived value, not necessarily the actual value. I think at the end of the day, either way, this is Gibbs' offense out of the running back field, at least going forward after this year or sooner, whether that gets cleared up. I don't think, you should be, too concerned with the Gibbs situation right now. It is murky, but like we've touched on, it helps the value. And that's what you need in rookie drafts to, end up winning your rookie draft at the end of the day. And whether that sticks with what happens tonight with Swift, more than likely, I think if he gets traded, I think it's going to be tonight, unless maybe he gets traded out for a pick next year tomorrow. I don't see that as possible, but I think tonight you see a trade up. Somebody trades down, picks up Swift on the way back down. So, but we'll see. Time will tell.
Yeah.
Bob, before we take some comments, do you want to talk about the next pick in the draft that the Packers made?
I'll talk about the pick they didn't make.
We'll get to that. So Bob
because
was
that's
very
the next
upset.
pick, I'm pretty sure.
No, we cannot keep it down while you're trying to study upstairs. How about you keep it down while we're trying to do a live stream down here? So Kyron says, really thought the Packers would take JSN. Bob, would you like to chime in on your thoughts? Now you have to, Bob.
I don't know if I've ever been more heartbroken in my life. I mean, well, and I said it too before the draft. I'm like, if he's on the board, they're going to stare the community in the face and just say, defense. And
Bob, defense
sure
wins
enough,
championships.
No, well, it doesn't for Green Bay. So I don't see how you do this unless I worked out a compromise. I texted Goody and I was like, okay, if you're not going to take JSN day one, you better take Josh Downs and Sam Laporta day too.
Okay.
And he said he'll get back to me. Didn't actually get that much of a kind response, but
Yeah.
So I hate it. You know, it's sad. I was in real rough shape. That was some top tier commentary, I think, that came out of my mouth.
There is a video of it,
Somewhere.
courtesy of our own Zach Duarte. I actually have a copy of it on my
What I'm
phone.
here for.
Yeah, so I can upload that. And if you want to see the video of Bob melting down in person, patreon.com/Dynasty
Link
Rewind.
is-
That is where it is going
Wait,
to
hold
be
on.
listed. Yeah, it is up there on the screen. So, Sean, do we have any more questions? Zach from Gator, our very own Jason Barnes. Gator, one of our favorite patrons, definitely Zach's favorite patron. So if you could trade Swift right now, where is the spot? I'm assuming that we're
Draft spot.
talking. Yeah,
I think it means
Where are you
NFL.
trading
yeah,
to?
I believe so.
You
Miami.
can't say Miami.
Okay, you can't say Miami that I
No,
just
well, I'm
said.
going to give you a couple spots. I think Miami would be
Nope.
a good one.
Yeah.
I'll give you another one that
That
I
you
don't
can
think people are
say.
talking about. What about Kansas City?
Oh, so he can be CH'd again?
No, so he can be the
You can see that
Jerick
happen?
McKinnon role.
Yeah,
I mean,
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, what's it going to cost them at this point?
I mean,
He's on the last year of a rookie deal that they're
Yeah.
not using. He didn't even have 100
sixth.
carries last year.
fifth.
It's not going to cost them very much, and it's a very
trade
What
up.
about Philadelphia?
yeah. I
You know,
would. I would
these-
love
these-
Philadelphia.
These teams that make smart moves for
Mhm.
players that
Well, then they're not trading for DeAndre Swift.
Patriots.
But the Patriots, yeah, screw the fantasy community, right, Sean? We don't care.
Great fit.
So Ethan is saying contending 10-team Superflex PPR. Start 11. DK Metcalf for Cooper Kupp and Jacoby Myers.
I'm sorry. Okay, continue.
Worried that JSN muddles the waters too much to keep DK dependable versus the upside of Kupp for the next 2 years.
No
Thoughts?
chance.
Let's go to our
Zero
JSN stand.
Zero chance. I'm keeping DK.
Yeah, I
as
am
much
too.
as I love JSN, I don't think JSN muddies the water for DK. I think you need to be more worried about Tyler Lockett.
Yep.
Mhm.
Especially with Lockett's age, injuries start to pile up, things like that. Wide receivers just lose a step. I think DK is in his prime right now. I don't think you need to worry about that. Making this move for Kupp and Myers, who I think is a wide receiver 3 maybe, and Kupp, who is going to be on the downturn. We don't know how he's going to be after that injury, getting older as well. I'd much rather have DK 1,000%. I'd have DK on the same team with JSN on my same fantasy team before I made a trade like this. If
Let's
you want to
not
move,
forget Cooper Kupp coming off that injury. Matthew Stafford coming off an injury as well. So
I'm worried about.
I'm more confident DK playing with Geno Smith right now than I am with Cooper Kupp playing with
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford.
I mean, let's remember Geno Smith was the quarterback 5 last year.
Yeah.
And we just upgraded
No
to slot
slouch.
receiver.
Yeah.
And this is a team that in 2021, they were 32nd in the pass attempts per game. 32nd in pass attempts per game. Last year, they were 15th. They are passing the ball more and more. Now with Russell Wilson gone, I don't know why,
Let Geno cook.
but they're going to let Geno cook.
Yeah.
This is confirming it. I mean, they're putting a lot of investment into that passing game.
They are.
I'm excited to see what happens.
Me too. Sean, what do you got for me? John Jacob saying, given there's only 3 quarterbacks for round 1 in Superflex, Lance plus what equals JSN or AR?
I mean, you're going to have to put
You
at
need another
least
first in
a
there.
first round pick
Mhm.
with Lance if you're going after AR, I think.
yeah, I think
For
you
sure.
need to pair whatever pick you maybe happen to have.
Let's-
And if you're anywhere near the late first,
Mhm.
I think you need to probably pair a second as well with Lance to get to whatever pick you need to get
Yeah.
to. Because I think you're moving up.
103, 104, probably.
Yeah, at least. So, I mean, if you're at, let's say, 109, you're probably
Trey Lance in the
a second.
109.
Trey Lance, 109 and a second, I think, is
Yeah.
where you need to get to for that.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think you get it done otherwise. You might even need more than that, to be honest.
All right. So Trey Lance is going to be the ball dome of Dynasty quarterback pretty soon. Sean, let's take one more and then we'll get back into discussing round 1. Andy Moss saying rank QJ, Addison, Zay post draft.
I just want to say I appreciate the respect of having JSN already ahead of these.
We already know.
Yeah. Well, considering some of us just consider him a slot wide receiver. So, you, Nate, just said it. He upgraded their slot.
Well,
wide
he's
receiver.
going to be. He'll be the slot wide receiver.
Have
this
I ever
year.
said that he is certainly going to be limited to the slot? I've always said I want to see him play on the outside. I just haven't.
It's this year. He might not get that
Wow, rewind
opportunity
it
with
back.
Tyler Lockett.
Rewind it
Wow.
back. All right.
I understood what you
answer
were
the
saying,
question.
Nate.
Brian Hartline said he can play either way. I trust Brian Hartline.
Yeah, the guy knows what he's talking
Yeah.
about. But Nate, why don't you take a crack at ranking these 3?
Yeah, so I mean, we got JSN at wide receiver 1, of course, and then I have Addison, Zay, and QJ. And that's where I'm at right now. I think it's pretty locked in because Josh Downs can work his way in there depending on landing spot. But unless he has a great landing spot, he's probably going to be the 5 for me. And then we'll see how the rest of the wide receivers play out. But it's going to be hard to move QJ down because of the landing spot.
Yeah, I
from
agree.
4. It's just as much as I love Josh Downs with the connection with Justin Herbert, I mean, you can't move him any lower than 4. And I think there's plenty argument to be made for anywhere in 2, 3, 4 for QJ. I think these guys could be, kind of pick your flavor.
Yep.
I mean, I think Addison is very much my wide receiver too.
I think he's the safest out of the bunch too.
But it really can be pick your flavor with these guys because they're all really talented.
So we're going to go back into the draft here, round 1. We had no offensive skill positions go until pick 20. Bob, I know you wanted to talk about this. Jackson Smith and Jigba goes pick 20 to the Seattle Seahawks, where he's going to be a slot receiver.
Allegedly.
And I think what Nate was trying to say is just that he will be primarily a slot receiver for this year. We assume Tyler Lockett will move on, and then Jason will get to play outside more.
Sacrilege.
Yeah. But I mean, look, they're making their team
Slots
better.
do well in the NFL too. We can't forget that. Slots.
That is true.
Especially when you're elite at the slot.
Adam Humphries. Let's just not forget about him. Slot God himself.
Those 2 names should not even be uttered in the same paragraph.
Willie Snead.
Shouldn't even
Hunter
be in
Renfrow?
the same book.
Hunter Renfrow.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Jacoby Myers.
Juju
Smith-Schuster.
Smith-Schuster. Bob, are you not excited right now about what you're hearing?
No, because these are all slanderous comps.
I will say, spending some time with Bob and excitement typically don't go hand in hand. It's like 2 magnets that are the same.
That's why I was really hoping for JSN to the Packers last night because Bob would have smiled.
It would have only been tears. Happy tears. Not
well,
sad
look,
tears.
the Packers still have 6 more rounds of drafting to make you a happy man.
It's a
And we get to
disappoint.
win us all. We should just live stream when the Packers pick. Should we do that? If you guys want to see that, you know what? If we get 5 new patrons by the end of the day, by the start of round 2, we're going to live stream whenever the Packers pick. You get to see Bob reacting.
What
live
safety
in
are they
person.
going to take in the 2nd round?
Hey, that's great. And you get to see it all live. Patreon.com/Dynasty.
offensive
We need
linemen.
5. Okay. We're at
They're gonna draft
142
another
patrons
percent.
right now. So if we're at 147, we broadcast all of the Packers pick. But Bob, JSN goes to the Seattle Seahawks. Give it to me.
I mean, I like the fit. I do. At the end of the day, I'm
Sounds
not.
so somber right now.
I like the
fit.
my favorite player in the draft, and my team just looked me in the face and said, "No." No, I like the fit overall. I'm not super concerned long term. DK looking at his contract too. He has an out after 2024. So I mean, you get 2 years locked in with him, which I think is fine. I think they're not the type of players that are going to cannibalize each other or anything like that. So I'm not going to worry about there. I think, more what we should be looking at is actually Tyler Lockett and what he's looking to do. But I love the fit. I think it's a good offense to be a part of right now.
I agree.
And definitely on the up. I'm waiting to see Tyler Lockett's contract. He has an out after this year.
Okay.
So,
Right.
I mean, JSN is the wide receiver 2 in that offense. And the thing is with Lockett and DK, they've been back and forth being, wide receiver 1 and 2 in that team. And I think it's a week-to-week kind of thing. So I don't think there's any reason that JSN isn't, being considered as a, very close to where after this year, I think he's close to that conversation where we have, like I've been saying, Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave this year. I think we're having that similar discussion with JSN at the end of this year.
Yeah, I think we've seen enough history with Seattle being able to handle 2 fantasy relevant and 2 highly fantasy relevant wide receivers that there is no reason to fade JSN with this landing spot.
Sean, you said that there is a question here. Ethan wants to know, is it crazy to take JSN at 102 in Superflex if you don't desperately need a quarterback?
Yes.
I have so much respect for it, but yes,
Value-wise, you have to move down.
There has got to be somebody who you could move to 105, and I think you pick up first next year. I don't think JSN's touching anybody before pick 5 now.
Yeah.
With Stroud having a good landing spot, Young having the landing spot we all knew he was going to get, Richardson getting the best landing spot quarterbacks, arguably, especially for his development. With
top
his
4 is locked in.
I think it's quarterback pick your flavor 1 or 2 through 4, and then I think JSN Jahmyr Gibbs discussion happens.
Mm-hmm.
I respect it.
Me too. And I understand wanting to take JSN, but if you can get JSN and also move back and get some additional draft capital, you would be crazy not to do that. So let's get back into it. Zacky Poo. Quentin Johnston goes to the Chargers. And then we'll kick it to Nate after that. We'll talk about Zay Flowers a little bit going to the Ravens. But Zach, QJ, Chargers, are we loving or hating this landing spot? What are your thoughts here?
I mean, it's a great landing spot, right? As we mentioned before.
Or are you loving it? That's what I want to know.
I just don't love the player. I don't love the player. I'm not convinced on the talent. It's something we've all discussed the entire offseason is the potential to bust, the comparisons to Brashad Perriman. And I think that right now.
Okay, you know what? You're like in the Baltimore area. You're in Nate's house. You got to take a dig on him, though. That's got to respect Zach.
Yeah.
He's if anything, Zach is consistent. I'll tell you that.
It's not my comp, but it's my nightmare that I get when I watch Quentin Johnston. I just get my flashbacks.
Especially,
Nate, that's a great point. So
especially when he was being mocked.
I think that we are talking about Quentin Johnston because he landed on the Chargers and not because he's Quentin Johnston.
I think there is some of that. I do think that there is enough talent there and enough potential there that he was, like some players, they just need to go to, spots that have good potential. Like, I don't know if I definitely wouldn't be excited about him on the Ravens as I am Zay Flowers on the Ravens, but I do like where he's going there because he doesn't have to be the one right away.
Yeah.
And that was something we discussed with Johnson. I think he could use some fine tuning to work out some of the raw things that he just needs work on. I think that's a good offense to do it where he's, little brother before he's big brother.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
I think that's what he needs. And I think, being attached to that top 5 quarterback, not that he wouldn't be in Baltimore, but that just boosts his value that much more, so on and so forth. But I see where you're at. I think it definitely helps his stock. I mean, if it was the Giants, if that were to be the case, I would not be as positive thinking about Quentin Johnston as I am now. So I think there is something to be said about that. But
I mean, for me, when I'm looking at drafting a player in the top 6, top 7 in a super flex draft, I'm going to go talent over situation.
For sure.
And for me, when with that question that came in, QJ's 4 out of 4 on those wide receivers for me.
Yeah.
And depending on where Josh Downs lands, could be 5th. And I'm not going to get over. We did this with Sky Moore last year. We did this with Christian Watson last year, where they went ahead of players like Jahan Dotson, who had the draft capital and who had a good situation where the NFL said, like Nate said, we believe in this player. So I'm not super positive about Quentin Johnston just because he lands with the Chargers.
Well, the Chargers obviously, they believe in him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they picked him up 21.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't expect
technically 22.
Technically, I didn't expect Quentin Johnston to go in the first round, but I kind of figured he might because teams believe in development. A team sits there, the coaches look at each other, they say, we can develop this guy, we can build this guy. And it's a great situation for him to develop. But the thing is, am I willing to wait for that production and take the risk that production even comes when I can go after Addison, Zay Flowers, JSN, one of the quarterbacks, Gibbs? It just pushes Quentin Johnston just being pushed down the board a little bit for me. And I understand someone could have him as the wide receiver 2 in the draft. But like I said at the very beginning of this live stream, I think other people are just going to select him before I'm ready to select him.
I agree. But Nate, let's move on to the next pick. The Baltimore Ravens, they select Zay Flowers from Boston College. So I want to know, is the North not enough for yourself and Zay Flowers? And then for the post live stream, is there more coffee in the kitchen?
There's more coffee. Actually,
there's already more coffee.
I need to get up and get some more. I have to leave the live stream for a little
Ren.
I'm gonna have to get Sean to give me some more coffee.
And if you want a fantastic Dynasty Rewind mug, spreadshop.com. Link is in the description. If you want to pick up a mug,
it should be below the video.
The link is somewhere. I know. And in any one of our videos, there's a link. Spreadshop. You get a mug. You can get some awesome merch. You can get a hat, stickers, whatever you want. But if you want some stickers, you could also hit up patreon.com/Dynasty Rewind and DM me, and I'll just send you some. What, Sean? Okay, we have a question before we get to Zay Flowers.
All right, right.
Sorry, Sean is really excited about this question. Go ahead, Sean. What would you guys? This is from Parth, and he says, "What would you guys do at 107 in a super flex half point PPR? I mean, without any context of the team, what do you think, Bob? You have an answer already.
Well, not necessarily, but okay. So at 107, I think we can assume Bijan, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Jack Smith and Jigba are off the board.
Most likely, yes.
So, that's kind of, no quarterbacks. No quarterback should be on the board. I think it's way too early for tight end. So we're looking at wide receivers. We got Jordan Addison. We got QJ. We got Zay Flowers. Out of people that were drafted, at least, I think there's a good chance you end up looking at running back, depending on where we get some of these landing spots, just based on, these wide receivers that we have. I think QJ is going to be a discussion for a lot of people. I think it's early for me for Jordan Addison, just because of the expectation I have on Jordan Addison in leagues. I don't feel justified. Like if I guess if you spent a pick of 107 on Devonta Smith a couple years ago, you probably feel pretty good about it now.
Yeah.
Because you can get significantly more for that in a deal if you were to move him. But I don't feel as confident making that move right now. But yeah, I'm in a tough spot there. I think you're probably looking at a running back, depending on where they go this day. I think we have a better answer tomorrow. Maybe this is something we pin for tomorrow's questions. But 107 right now, if we're talking just players that got drafted, I think I'm looking at Zay Flowers more than likely with what we assume is off the board.
So Parth, come back tomorrow at 10 o'clock. We'll be live streaming then. We'll be live streaming Sunday as well, every day at 10 a.m. for the duration. What was that, Sean?
Yeah. So Levis not being picked.
He shouldn't be a first round pick.
In the first round pick has actually kind of, we've had some really good landing spots in the first round. We were saying last night that the first round was actually very fantasy friendly.
It was. I loved it.
But with Levis falling out of the first round, he's probably not going to be a first round pick in your rookie drafts anymore.
Shouldn't be.
Which means you lose that extra quarterback pushing down the skill players.
Mm-hmm.
And assuming he gets picked day 2, Will Levis is probably a second round pick in your super flex leagues. But that means that you're going to have to be going after those wide receivers and the running backs in the back end of the first and picking up talent, because Will Levis was extending that top tier of the first round to 107. And now with Will Levis not being picked day 1.
Isn't that some irony that
the tier is ending at 106, I think.
Because for a while it was Anthony Richardson that was pushing some value down the board. And
where I think I could see him going? Will Levis, just looking at round 2. I mean, the Steelers aren't going to take him.
Atlanta's up soon.
Atlanta's up very quickly.
They are, but even before Atlanta, we got we got the Titans at pick 41.
It's true.
I mean, I don't hate that. Just looking at everything else, we still have the Raiders. They didn't trade up to get him. Seattle's not going to take him. The Rams have pick 36, but the Colts, the Lions, they're not going to draft him either. So, I mean, I'm not saying Will Levis is dead yet. And just because he wasn't a first round pick, there are still some good landing spots out there. I mean, clearly the Titans do not believe in Malik Willis, and after seeing him play last year, I can't say I blame them. But Nate, let's talk about Zay Flowers, the newest addition to an all of a sudden robust Baltimore Ravens wide receiver room. Zach, you can just excuse yourself during this conversation if you want. But Nate, give me your thoughts on Zay.
Yeah, so I think Zay comes in, and by the end of the season, I think it's pretty obvious that he's the wide receiver 1 on this team.
Agreed.
Really? Even over OBJ?
Yeah, I think, I love OBJ, and I hope he has an Anquan Bolden-esque one season.
And he'll draw coverage away from guys like Zay Flowers.
He's definitely going to draw coverage away.
For sure.
He's going to be the wide receiver 1 on paper, OBJ, for the Ravens. When the defense lines up, they're going to put their top corner on OBJ, I think. And Bateman's going to be playing the Z. Or maybe the X. We'll see where they put. They can kind of interchange the two of them. But Zay is going to be in the slot in most situations. And I think, Mark Andrews takes over the middle of the field, and he's probably the number 1 target on the team still. But Zay Flowers should be the number 1 wide receiver target on this team, because OBJ, he's a little bit older. He's going to be a bit more inconsistent, I think. And I don't expect him to play a full season, just to be quite honest. Yep. I know the Ravens, we don't have good injury luck. So you combine that with OBJ, I'm not expecting
the nightmare.
Not expecting 17 games played by him. I'd be surprised to see Rashad Bateman play 17 games. So Zay Flowers has quite a great situation where he should come in, and with his skill set playing out of the slot, with his ability to create yards after the catch, I think Todd Monken and the Ravens want to get him the ball early and often and see what he can do. That is the bread and butter of Zay Flowers. He's getting the Tyreek Hill comp and stuff like that because of that yards after the catch ability. And the Ravens love that. That's what they loved about Marquise Brown. That's what they go after with Isaiah Likely last year. They want guys who can create yards for themselves. Charlie Kohler.
Sure.
Incredible. Yeah, sure.
So
Zay Flowers is a guy who can create yards. They're going to give him the ball.
Just saying names to say names.
I mean,
I'm the
100 targets.
I'm the crappy tight end whisperer. That's my thing. So here's what we got. We got 2 more offensive skill players in this round. So we're just going to go through each of these guys a little bit here, and then we're going to open it up to questions for the duration. Bob,
What's up?
hi. Jordan Addison goes to the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah.
I was talking about this before. Wide receiver 2 on a team is not a death sentence. Do you like the landing spot? Yeah. I do.
This was probably the best landing spot for Jordan Addison. I think that could have happened. I think the only other good one, Buffalo, I think would have been a good one for him too, where he's locked in to the immediate, wide receiver 2 role in that team. Nobody's going to try calling Jordan Addison the number 1. Like people try to do with Devonta Smith. Not saying anything against Devonta Smith, but when it was kind of just Devonta Smith out there,
he was the wide receiver 1 out of necessity.
Exactly.
But I think he's flourished in the wide receiver 2 role because AJ Brown takes coverage.
Exactly.
And you're going to see that with Jordan Addison. And the great thing about this pick is people are going to be so turned off because he's not the bona fide guy. And we've seen that every year. When a player is not the guy automatically, people look to pivot, which means you get to scoop up all that value.
Yeah. The thing that really nails this pick home for me is that it appropriates his value. Because you shouldn't have had expectations on Jordan Addison as a player being a wide receiver 1 in any offense, given his size and what his skill set is. Not saying he's super limited, but at the end of the day, he is not a wide receiver 1 in an offense. I think he'll have wide receiver 1 weeks. I think he may have a close to a wide receiver 1 finish. I think he's, Devonta Smith, not super light, but like just a tier below what Devonta Smith is. And I think he's got some serious potential, but there are going to be those weeks where he leaves a little bit to be desired, but there's going to be weeks where he wins you your week. And, that's super valuable. And at the end of the day, having somebody who could slot in as wide receiver 3 on your team, always super viable. Again, I'm not sure where I'm super happy taking him. He might be somebody, I think he's somebody who falls, like you said, because he is going to be misappropriately devalued, but it's going to put his price tag at a more appropriate value for where you should have been drafting him. And that'll link up to what the expectation should be, which is always important.
Bob, 2 things I just want to say real quick. Thank you to Cody Hamrick for signing up for a yearly $10 tier for the Patreon. So we only need 4 more patrons, and we will be live streaming all of Bob's reactions to the Packers pick. And also, people are asking, if you have Justin Jefferson, would you still want Jordan Addison on the same roster?
Yes.
A lot of people are against that. I've kind of come around on that.
I think Jordan Addison, we have to remember this Vikings offense, they throw the ball a lot. Kirk Cousins can, they got Hawkins.
He can sling it.
I think this is going to be a team where the offense is run through these 3 guys. It's not the wide receiver 4, 3, 4, 5, not going to matter. They're not going to get targets.
I agree.
It's going to be very much Hawkinson, Jefferson, and Addison catching the ball, making things happen. I think Addison has the best production of any rookie wide receiver this year.
I tend to agree.
And if you agree with that, I love JSN. He's going to be my wide receiver 1, but Jordan Addison, if he has the best production through his rookie season, at this point next year, he's the Chris Olave of this class. And how can you pass on that? The 108, 109.
I did an audit, and if you want your team audited, the Express audits only. The link is somewhere, Bob.
What's that?
The link for team audits for Express audits or somewhere.
It's payhip.com/rewind.
There you go. There's going to be great stuff on there. But I said this guy at KJ Osborne, I said you can let go of KJ Osborne.
There should be a ticker for that, Sean.
There should be a ticker for that, Sean. Okay. And I said you can let go of KJ Osborne. He said, well, right now he's the wide receiver 2 on the Vikings. And I said, right now, I don't think he is after the draft. And we already see that that's come to fruition. Yeah. KJ Osborne's not the guy. KJ Osborne never was the guy. Screw all the hype. Do you remember when people were saying that Justin Jefferson wasn't going to get on the field because of KJ Osborne and the whole camp thing?
Olabisi Johnson was actually.
It was Olabisi Johnson. I'm sorry. Forgive me. And yet, how did that work out? So let's go and move on a little bit. And Dalton Kincaid. I'm going to talk about Dalton Kincaid going to the Buffalo Bills because screw Dawson Knox. Although they're saying that he's going. Because they're saying that he's going to be used like a big slot. And I love this. This is fantastic. A fantastic offense gets even better. Dalton Kincaid, look, he's the tight end 1 in the class. The NFL showed you that he is the tight end 1 in the class. I think there's going to be tight ends that might actually have a chance at having better production because they could go to an offense with not as many weapons and they become more of a focal point. But you can't hit the landing spot. Josh Allen, you get the ball down the field. Dalton Kincaid can get down the field. He's not going to be asked to block in this offense, which is what you want from Dalton Kincaid. This is a prime landing spot. I absolutely love it.
So do we think that Dalton Kincaid is the number 2 target on the Bills?
I think within 1 to 2 years, he's the number 1 target on the Bills.
Woo!
I don't disagree with
takes. I
that.
agree.
Listen, we've seen
After-
offenses run through tight ends. The Patriots, they had the 2 tight ends at Zack for a number of
You
years.
look at their division,
Eagles.
their conference rival, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah.
Both these guys have had very productive tight end offenses.
Yep.
You look at contracts. You look at Stephon Diggs, who's getting older. He's already 30 years old. He has a potential out in 2025 after the 2024 season. You have to realistically expect a decline in Stephon Diggs' production because of his age. Father Time is undefeated. It just finally caught
My
Tom Brady.
joints know that when I wake up every morning. Father Time is undefeated.
With the draft capital invested, with the skill set he has the type of potential that will be top 3-4 tight end within 2 years.
What you're hearing right now on this live stream is Bob Van Duzer saying that Dalton Kincaid is the next Travis Kelce. He is the next Mark Andrews. You're
Basically,
hearing that right now.
Yeah.
While you had the full screen. You're hearing that from Bob Van Duzer's mouth. So, Bob, are you sticking to that? Is Dalton Kincaid the next great NFL tight end?
I think there is, out of this class, and I think out of possibly next year's class as well, I've been on the record saying for a hot minute, instead of drafting Brock Bowers next year in the first, draft Dalton Kincaid in the second this year.
It's
And
getting hot in Maryland right now.
I'm still
Oh my
sticking on
God.
it.
Well, don't
You're-
forget about next year. Well, who's that tight end I like? Jason
Nobody.
Oh, you
Jason,
like
nobody.
Benjamin Urasek?
Benjamin Urasek. I love him so much that I can't even remember his name. That's how good he is.
That's how you know he's really good, is that
It's
he
an
does
odd
not stick in
name.
your memory.
Listen, hungry ships eat more water, or whatever the saying is. I don't know. They said it in the
Hungry
chat.
ships make more water.
Yes, that is it. Because like submarines, right? Because they need the water to
I
drink. You have
don't.
to
I
purify it.
don't think that's how it works.
It sounds like your hungry ship might have a hole in it.
That is true. All right,
Got a
so
leaky gut.
that is going to be it for any skill position players in the draft. We don't care about defensive players or offensive tackles.
Rip IDP.
So, yes, rip IDP. But let's open it up for some questions, Sean. And we got 174 people watching right now. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Because you know what? The draft is here. Screw work. Let's watch this. Eddie Spaghetti. I love that username for the record. In a 1-quarterback PPR, what are your guys' top 10 rookie picks as of now? Would you want to trade away the 1.5 and 1.6 if trying to compete?
I think if you got that 105 and the 106 and a 1 quarterback and you're trying to compete, you go after Bijan. You move those 2 picks, especially if that person earned that 101.
Mhm.
You see what it takes on top of that 105 and 106. I do think it'll take something. You know, if you still have your 24 first kicking around, F it, man. In a 1 quarterback PPR, Bijan is going to do a heck of a lot more for you than anybody at the 105 and 106. If you're looking to trade out, I think you could possibly move both of those for like Najee Harris and maybe get a little bit back, another running back to target. That would be what I'd be looking to do with those picks, probably.
I would love to make that move. I think if you're a competing team and you don't need depth in this round, then going after Bijan is the move to make, especially if you're a competing team. Because if you already have 2 firsts and 2 mid firsts, then you're almost there. Even with the incredible landing spot, if the 101 needs the depth, then offering 2 mid firsts, that's a great starting point to make that trade. You like Bob said, you're going to have to add another first probably on top of that.
Something, yeah.
But with the Falcons landing spot, with it being 1 quarterback, I am completely fine making that move because Bijan in a 1 quarterback startup draft is certainly the 101 at this point.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Easily. So being able to trade 2 mid first rounds and a 2024 first, assuming after you get Bijan, that 24 first is going to be a late one.
At least late.
This is that would be an incredible move to make.
I don't see this happening in a 1 quarterback league.
You're going to have struggled to make it
Yeah.
if they're 101 smart.
That's why
Right.
we said you
Well,
have to
or
put
if
another first on
the
it.
thing is if they're at
Still
101,
don't think it's
they have Bijan and it's a reasonably deep start. If it's not start 7 or start 8, if it's start 9 or 10 or 11, God forbid, anything like that. That 101 should want to move out, especially if they earn that pick. They should want to move out of that pick. And the thing is when you want to move out of that pick, you don't have as much leverage as you think you do. You have the best pick on the board for the best player on the board. But at the end of the day, if a pick doesn't make sense for your team, probably still draft the asset anyway. But you have some leverage going to attack the Bijan Robinson manager, trying to get that pick. You have some leverage. A package like this, 105, 106, is nothing to scoff at.
Yep.
You're going to be able to target some of the best wide receivers in the draft that help a rebuilding team out more. You're getting a first-round pick next year. I don't think it takes much more than that because 3 assets for 1 is never a bad pick. And I think, Bijan is probably the 101 in most startups. So I don't think it's that outlandish to say that it gets done. I think you have to have a discussion. I think somebody sees those 3 shiny firsts and things change real quick.
So Bob is saying to leverage your package is basically what he's saying.
I think for this, if you relate it to Superflex terms, it's almost 108, 109 in the Superflex league. I think it takes a lot more than that, plus a 24 first, which I'm going to assume as the 101 owner is going to be a late first round pick because now you're adding Bijan Robinson to that team.
Yeah.
If I have 105, 106, I'm trying to trade either one of those picks for a proven player, whoever you want to plug in there, and keep a pick for when you're on the clock. Because as you guys know, you can get a lot of value for trading a pick away when you're on the clock.
Mm-hmm.
Let's try to get through some more comments here. I'm sure we have a bunch. Sean, Obi Don Kenobi, another great username. Hollywood or QJ moving forward?
Oh, get wrecked, Zach.
DLF trading on
DLF trade analyzer says 105, 106, and 24
It
first.
doesn't matter what it's Bijan Robinson.
I know, I get it. I
Doesn't
mean,
matter.
Give me QJ moving
Doesn't
forward. Hollywood Brown, there's a lot of quarterback questions. The new offense coming in. I'm going to take QJ going forward. I'm going to go with well, he's not starting the season, so that's a question.
I mean, it's actually a statement, but
He's questionable to start the season. I'm still going to take QJ moving forward. I'm willing to wait for him.
I think you have to wait for either one, to be quite honest. I think
Hollywood
Brown's going to give you more production immediately, just a better floor. But you're not going to get prime production from either one until the end of the season, possibly next year.
Yeah, I think I'm taking QJ re-roll either way because I mean, several years younger already. It has the projected future of being with a better quarterback, in my opinion, and better offense than being with Kyler Murray at this point is what the expectation is for Marquise Brown. So I'm re-rolling with QJ pretty easily here, I think, for me at least.
I think I'm up from a competitive team. I don't mind keeping Brown because I already have the known asset.
That is true. Yeah.
I'd try to move off Brown for another piece if that's the case.
Sean, what do you got? I'm sure we got more here. Brian is saying JMO in the 302 for QJ and Algier. He has Herbert, Bijan, and Gibbs.
I love this. I love everything about this.
And
it's a great move.
Jameson Williams going to be missing some time for gambling. And Quintez Cephas missing a lot of time for gambling. So Bob loves the deal.
Great deal.
Yeah, I'm in on it too. Sean? Hussein wants to know, how does Lamar staying in Flowers in change Andrews' value? Nate, let's kick it to the north is not enough.
Yeah, I don't think it changes Andrews' value at all because he is the number one guy there.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who gets drafted. I mean, Zay Flowers is good. And I like him a lot, but he's not going to take that many targets from Andrews. No. They are different players. They do work around the same area of the field, but Flowers can be moved inside, outside. He can play both. Andrews, we've seen him play all over the field as well. They can both get down the field, play close to line of scrimmage. Andrews is still, for me, the top tight end in Dynasty.
I'm
over Travis Kelce.
Yeah,
I'm with you there. Oh,
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
interesting.
The thing is, Kelce. If you want to talk redraft, you can talk Kelce. I'm basically rolling off of Kelce until he, you can put him tight end 1 and redraft till he falls off. I'm fine with that. Mm-hmm. But those fallen wheels are coming. They're coming off the bus sooner rather than later. It's father time again. I think this is great for both of them, honestly, because they working both in similar parts of the field only helps them have to adjust coverage of that center part of the field, and they can't cover both of them every single play. There's no way they can. So I think, honestly, it helped both their values out significantly, and obviously Lamar staying.
Oh yeah,
I mean, Andrew's value was in rough shape if Lamar's not the quarterback, and they don't replace him with somebody who. Doesn't there's a rapport there at the end of the day too, and I think he's a fixture of that offense going forward either which way.
Yeah.
So I love
I think it definitely helps Andrews out because for a lot of games last year, there was no one to throw to other than Andrews. They just double covered Andrews, took him out of the game. Offense struggled. Now, much harder to take Andrews out of the game.
Yeah, rising water helps things float. Sean,
exactly.
That was a lot closer, actually, at least.
something. Jason wants to know, is Kincaid a late first and a one quarterback half PPR? How do you balance the talent / landing spot with the investment price of taking a tight end that high? I mean, look, if you don't like any of the other guys there, I mean, there was a couple mocks I did where I think I took Dalton Kincaid late first.
In a one quarterback? Half PPR too, or like,
and if we're talking a late first, you're a good team already, unless you traded for that pick. So likely you just need to keep adding pieces.
I think
Hit it.
no, I'm gonna have to throw this one to Bob after. I'm gonna have to ask Bob a question here.
You're
All right, I know how much you love Dalton Kincaid,
Love Dalton.
but
He's a Dalton
I might be able to
Kincaid.
move. Let's say I have the 108 here.
Sure. That's too early. I already know that.
Well, I might be able to move the 108 for TJ Hawkinson or Pat Frymuth plus.
I mean, you're definitely getting plus for Freiermuth. I don't know if you get plus for Hawkinson. I'd go spend it on Hawkinson because he's a proven asset. And I think he's good for a rebuilding team. And I think that's just a more appropriate value right now. And we always talk about spending your assets the best way you possibly can in the moment. And I think that's a better spend right now than drafting Kincaid. Even if you can trade down a couple picks, I think you still got to go TJ Hawkinson there. And I still love TJ Hawkinson after the Addison ad too. I think they help each other out. And, according to the other question that, if you have Justin Jefferson, are you still drafting Addison? Well, no, because I already have a lot of TJ Hawkinson paired with Justin Jefferson, and that would just be too much Vikings.
It'd be a lot of Vikings, especially for a Packers
See,
fan.
that doesn't bother me. I am not the type of person that cares about having other players on my team from division.
But if it's a good offense,
it's a good enough offense.
if it's a good enough offense, I mean, I'm not saying that
Three
Kirk
is
Cousins is Joe Burrow,
3 is a lot.
but he can toss the ball. And you certainly would not have been upset the past couple of years having
Mhm.
Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Joe Mixon on the same team.
I mean, you would have won the all missed time, but yeah, other than that,
All right, John, what do you got for us? Space Enfeld saying, where would Sharp have to go to jump to the first round receivers and rookie draft? What, Zach, do you have?
We know the answer to that.
do we? What's the
Miami.
answer?
You seem to know the answer
Miami.
to that. Okay, the
Chargers
answer is
back.
Miami.
Miami.
No,
he's
I
not
don't think he
the-
needs to go there.
Look,
I think
I don't see him fitting really into Miami.
Well, I'm answering the question: where would Sharps have to go? I mean, we're talking about it has to be in the second round, right? You're not taking a third round running back over.
I don't think you're
first-round
not.
wide receivers.
I don't think you're not.
Depends. If Zach Charbonnet falls to third, I still probably might.
Yeah, obviously the landing spot. I mean, let's go
Day
back.
two draft capitals, day two draft capital.
I mean,
most
you got to
overall
figure
for me.
Minnesota's in the market. You figure Tennessee is probably in the
Arizona.
market. Arizona's in the market. Dallas is definitely there. Dallas is the most in the market team for a running back in this draft.
Yep.
They have
I would
brought
agree
in
with that.
8 running backs, or are connected with 8 running backs, 2 of which are gone. Or actually, they did not meet with Bijan actually. So they connected with 8 running backs pre-draft, more than any other team by far. So they have to go running back, and I think Charbonnet goes there. I don't know if he jumps all of them, but I think he jumps at least a couple.
What about the Chargers?
Chargers would be
Austin
fine.
Eckler wants to be moved on from, and I think
Mhm.
Zach Charbonnet slots in better than Isaiah Spiller or Joshua Kelly
Oh,
or
yeah,
whoever else that they've
1,000%.
been trying
Easily.
to, roll out there because these guys aren't working out. So there are some spaces, but I think that that's a question that we will probably be able to answer better tomorrow. So Sean's going to make a note of that, or not, and we're going to revisit that one. But
Nope,
Sean,
not
let's
Got it.
Okay, so Mayor West says Superflex tight end premium 101, 107, and 112 have Sam Howell and Tannehill, Swift and Rashad White. Do I go Bijan? I'm going Bijan.
Bijan.
I'm still going
You
Bijan
pair the 107 and the 112 to move up to 104.
and get AR.
And pick
and
up
get
Stroud,
whatever quarterbacks
AR,
there.
Young.
I agree with that. And I think Sam Howell and Ryan Tannehill are 2 good guys to have for this year. I don't know what their longevity is going to be on your team.
I mean,
So-
Sam Howell needs to be really considered. That another thing. Talking encounters that teams had leading into the draft. Washington did no due diligence on this draft class
Yeah.
of running or quarterback. Excuse me.
But Ron Rivera did say he is our quarterback for now.
The only concern you have is Jacoby
Brissett.
Brissett.
I know.
I'm not too concerned about Jacoby Brissett.
I'm not, but the problem that I have here's the thing. I'm not concerned about Jacoby Brissett. I'm concerned with the veteran coaching staff.
I'm concerned about Ron Rivera being concerned with Jacoby Brissett.
That's my concern. The veteran coaching staff that, if Sam Howell comes out and loses a couple games, maybe doesn't look good here and there, we're going to put the veteran in. That could muddy things right there. But I hope Sam Howell, he played pretty well at the end of the year last year. There's Eric Bieniemy's coming in. So we'll see what happens.
I think this question brings up a great thing that Bob just talked about. I think if you have 2 mid or late first round picks and you don't need a ton of depth,
Mhm.
if you can jump into the top 4 right now, you need to do it.
Yeah.
I agree.
I
Picking up one of those top 3 quarterbacks for Bijan is a team changing move.
I agree. All right, Sean.
Who we got next?
Andy wants to know thoughts on if KC moves up and takes Mayer/Washington in the second.
Like Mayer.
Mayer,
Washington becomes immediately overrated more than he already is.
I feel like that
I like he's in
team
Washington.
would go Mayer over Washington. Honestly, yes.
Mayer.
Welcome to
yeah,
Maryland.
Yeah. So
Maryland.
But my thoughts on that is,
Maryland.
you're going to be waiting. What you're going to have is a Noah Gray situation. Everyone's going to be saying he had Travis Kelce.
No. Very different line.
That's like saying Jackson Smith-Jigba is
You would
Juju Smith-Schuster.
or a
that
slot
being
receiver.
in the same spot, I'd be able to have guys like, let me talk, let me finish a thought. What I'm saying is you're going to be waiting a little bit for the relevance that you're expecting from a player is what I was
for
attempting
sure.
to say before everyone talks.
The issue with the only difference with that situation is that a trade up in day 2, which is where these two will both go more than likely, a trade up in day 2 is far more significant than whatever pick Noah Gray was. These two have far better profiles than Noah Gray does. And I do think both get overrated at the end of the day. I think
anyone that goes to Kansas City gets
because
overrated.
there is going to be, the problem is they just need to start drafting better players and they won't be overrated. Like if Sky Moore was, not to shoot shots here and take shots, I guess.
Catch him stray.
Just poor Sky Moore.
No, but I think Sky Moore was overdrafted. I completely agree with that. For sure. And he got the Kansas City bump, just like Dalton Kincaid's going to get the Buffalo bump, although that one is deserved.
But you're telling me if the Chiefs were to draft Michael Mayer and you've just watched Travis Kelce be the tight end 1 for the past 6 years, that you're not going to pick him up at the 110? 112, somewhere in the late first. I mean, you have to if that was to happen. I don't think it's going to happen.
I think you have to. I think you have to for value's sake, because he's going to be very highly valued if he's even at that point on the board. I think that's something to consider too. I think you just have to draft him, for the sake of trying to move a tight end.
We were just talking about Dalton Kincaid in the late first round. If Dalton Kincaid's there, I'm taking him over Michael Mayer if he goes to the Chiefs.
I'm taking Michael Mayer to the Chiefs over Dalton Kincaid to the Bills.
I'm taking Kincaid.
It's a situation for me where I'm going to let somebody else draft him and try to get him in a year when
I think that's
not a bad.
I think there is something to be said for just not drafting tight ends in general a lot of the time and just go buy them when they're more expensive later, because I don't think most tight ends get too expensive where they're outlandish to buy.
I mean, we're talking about TJ Hawkinson. You can buy him with a mid to late first.
Exactly.
I mean,
and
why spend it now on one of these guys not seeing the production?
You can draft Will Mallory in the 4th round too.
There you go.
I do like me some Will Mallory.
I know you do. Sean, what is our next one? Dominic says, is QJ a lock at 107 if you have Herbert? I don't know if he's necessarily a lock, but he's in consideration.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think that's something you look at your board and you see what's, if you move back a couple picks, and you need to know your league and all the things and all that. But I think there's something to be said about taking him there, but I also think it depends on your situation.
I'm going to struggle to take QJ in the top 10 picks once these running backs get landing spots.
True, I agree.
Yeah.
Once this day 2 draft capital comes up for running backs, I don't see how you can take QJ
I think
in the
it's going
top
to
10.
be a great running back draft tonight. I'm super excited about rounds 2 and 3. By the way, anybody out there, I want some comments. Does anyone else remember when the draft was just Saturday and Sunday?
I remember that.
Zach remembers, but I want to hear from our viewers here, because apparently Father Time over here and Zach are the only people that, Sean, you remember that, right? See, Sean remembers. So the old heads in the room, we remember. I want to hear from you guys. Sean, what do we got next comment-wise? 77 Racing says, best pick at the 102 in a 1 quarterback league. This is tough for me.
That depends on your team need.
Yeah, I think it's got to. I mean, at this point,
best player available,
Gibbs or JSN.
Well, they're in the same tier though. Gibbs and JSN. So if you need a wide receiver, go get JSN. If you need a running back, go get Gibbs.
I think if you earn that 102, I think you're more than likely you need a wide receiver more than you need a running back.
Yeah, that's good. J22 took over an orphan and it needs quarterback help. You have Tua and Ritter. I mean, look, right now, Desmond Ritter is the starting quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons. We'll see what happens. I have the 102, so obviously going quarterback. Question is, guy at 104 needs running back help, and I have Brees. Should I trade Brees for the 104?
Plus.
Well, right now, I did see that Brees Hall was the running back 3 in Dynasty based on ADP. It was Bijan Robinson, Christian McCaffrey, and then Brees Hall. So do with that what you will. But I think if you want to move on from him, you could do better than just the 104. I mean, plus, what are we talking plus wise?
I think it needs to be a projected early 23 second at least, or I'm sorry, 23 first, next 24 first. Jesus, I'll get to the pick eventually. I think I don't even know if I do it at that point.
Yeah.
I like the value. I think it's okay because I think you're getting two really nice quarterbacks there. But if your team is kind of far away, like I don't see a lot of incentive to do this because you're getting one quarterback already at 102. So I think you're fine there. I don't love Ritter as my quarterback 3, but I'm also, if I earned the 102, I'm not necessarily super concerned about filling quarterback 3 right now.
I gotta be honest with you.
I don't Brees, who I think is going to struggle this year, bouncing back from an ACL injury, and isn't going to help my team that much anyway. I will say that now is a good time to sell Brees because there's a lot of positive hype on him before he goes and struggles this year and dips in value like Saquon Barkley did 2 years ago.
Bob, I don't hate Desmond Ritter as a quarterback 3. To be honest with you. I understand.
I don't either.
Process, but I don't hate it.
I don't hate it for the season, but at the end of the day, like I'm not, I'd love to upgrade him, but it's not going to be my priority. I'm not going to sacrifice Brees over him.
Yeah,
they're trying to fix that.
I'd hold.
I agree.
Hold Brees as well
for now. Yeah. All right. T Philly says in a 1 quarterback 12-team league, and it is PPR. Just traded the 201 for Treylon Burks.
What a deal!
Nate,
that's a great
let's
deal.
Let's go to our resident Treylon Burks.
I think any second round pick. I mean, the 201, I would absolutely give that up for Burks. I know the quarterback situation is a little murky, but they didn't draft JSN, which was one of the mock locks we were seeing for a while.
I mean, it's murky. After this year, we know it's Ryan Tannehill for now, which you could do worse than Ryan Tannehill.
It might be Will Levis by the end of the night.
It could be, but I still.
Either way, I'm still happy with Burks because he is the bona fide wide receiver 1 there still.
Yeah, I don't know who else.
If they had gone after someone in the first round, I would be a little concerned that maybe they were not as happy with Burks as they had made it out to be by the end of the year. But I think they're happy with Burks as the wide receiver 1 right now. I do expect them to draft somebody.
Yeah.
This draft, if not 2 wide receivers, because they just need a lot of help in that room. But
Kyle Phillips is coming, baby.
Oh gosh, no, they're gonna bring back. They're gonna go get Charlie Jones.
Now, with the Kyle Phillips.
Oh, don't get me started on Charlie Jones.
So look at this screen name here, JSN the slot. Love it. 1 quarterback full PPR. Have the 102, 108, and 110 contending with Jonathan Taylor, Kenneth Walker, Travis Etienne. Make a push for Bijan or stay put and take JSN. I mean,
I don't even know how many you're starting in this league.
But dude, like let's just say this: if you have 2 flex, if it start 2 running backs and you have 2 flex spots, you could realistically move up. You could be starting Jonathan Taylor, Kenneth Walker, Travis Etienne, and Bijan Robinson, and you're saying contending. No, you are winning if you make that push for Bijan. I mean, that's going to be.
I think you do make the push from the 102 to the 101 if you can. I mean, I'd trade the 102 and the 110 to go get Bijan, and the 108 I grab a wide receiver.
Yeah, I love that.
And if I get Bijan, I can move off ETN if I want.
Why not, instead of, if you're considering going running back here, why not just go get Gibbs, stay where you are, reallocate the 108 and the 110 to fixing a wide receiver some other way.
Mm-hmm.
I would do it this way. I would.
Don't touch my mug.
My bad. Sorry. Our mug.
Oh, it's my mug, and there's still no coffee in it.
At one,
Sean,
okay, this one's definitely mine.
Sean, where's my coffee?
Sean is producing.
Sean's working.
Where's
Kyron?
Yeah, what is he doing?
Get a broomstick and knock up on the.
At 102, I'm staying put.
Yeah,
you're not getting one of those top wide receivers in a 1 quarterback league at 108. I'm trying to move up from 108. Maybe use that 110 to go up and get one of those wide receivers. Maybe try to get 103, 104. Try to get JSN. So I don't think you don't need Bijan.
Yeah,
you want Bijan.
Yeah, I especially with the running back core you already have. Bijan obviously slots in as your 1, and maybe then at that point you look to move one of the other ones to also address wide receiver. There's a lot you can do here. You have a lot of flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only move you don't make here is actually taking JSN, and I hate saying that.
Well, he is only a slot receiver as per what Nate said before, and this user screen name. So Jackson says has the 102 and 105.
Said it, man.
Need quarterback help. Leaning Bryce Young at 102. Have DK. Does that affect drafting JSN at the 105?
Maybe a little bit, but I think overall no, because DK, when he signed his contract extension, he's not there for the next.
He has an out.
I wouldn't overthink that.
He's there 2 years, maybe 3.
He has an out after 2024.
Yeah. And Tyler Lockett, as we said previously, has an out after this year. So I'm
and that passing offense has been invested into. They're passing the ball more now than they have in the past couple of years.
Yep.
I don't think this is the Seahawks of old where they're running the ball down your throat. JSN is going to get the ball no matter if DK is there or not.
I wonder if there's a possibility of it's not the Seahawks of old because Russell Wilson couldn't handle the passing game and Geno
It's
Smith.
very interesting.
Because we saw him in Denver.
Makes me want to do a little Brian Windhorst thing. Be like, it's interesting
Now,
what
why
they're doing
is
over
that?
there.
I don't know who that is, but I'm going to do it too. Sean, what do you got? What is the next
they
question
doing?
here? Zach, not this Zach, wants to know 10-team, 1 quarterback, PPR start 8. Would you trade Travis Etienne for the 106 and a 25 first if you're rebuilding? I do not want to pick that far away if I'm rebuilding. I want some draft capital now. And if you're rebuilding, I want some players now that I can start getting into my lineup. 25 is, I think, 2 years. I think that's too far to wait for a pick, right? I don't like to wait that
Not
long.
necessarily.
I would
Go
prefer
ahead and
not
get-
to, yeah.
I'd want a closer first. I want a
Oh,
24
for sure.
first, of course.
Let me
Like
ask you
the-
this. What if it was the 106 and a 23 second?
No.
Not
No?
even close.
Okay.
I think you can do better than this deal.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you can do better.
I think you can
this is
chase.
settling.
I think you can either chase an earlier first, or you can move that 25 first to a 24 first, or just talk to somebody else, give you a better deal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
I agree.
say you pick up, and Charbonnet is not going to be around at the 106, but one quarterback you might be able to pick up another day 2 running back, and if you get a
Hank might
24,
be there.
yeah, you get a 24 first on top of that. That's a decent move to make for a rebuilding team.
And you have good wide receivers here too at 106.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
1 quarterback.
That as well.
So I mean, you can do that and stagger around the running back room later, fix that room.
Yeah,
last.
depending on what that timeline is for that turnaround.
Sure.
Cavs fan 2302 in a 10-team Superflex league with the 1-1 and 1-4. I have Herbert, Stafford, Tannehill, and Brock Purdy. If Stroud and Young are 102 and 103, should I go JSN? Well, if Stroud and Young are 102 and 103, JSN, or do you want to go Anthony Richardson? Because I mean, really, the only known asset after this year is Justin Herbert. Stafford's question mark, Tannehill's a question mark, and Brock Purdy. He may not be the starting quarterback this year. I'm personally going Anthony Richardson there. I think that's a good move to make. I don't know what you guys think about that.
I like the idea of going Anthony Richardson here because you do need a quarterback 2 for your future.
And move
But
one
at the
of these
same
other
time,
guys.
yeah. But you have to be able to move one of these quarterbacks if you're going to draft AR because you don't need 5 quarterbacks sitting on your bench.
True.
I mean, on your team. You don't need 3 mid quarterbacks
Mid.
of Stafford, Tannehill, and Purdy. So if you can move off of one of these, hopefully 2 of these
We have
guys,
breaking
if
news,
you're
Sean?
drafting Anthony Richardson. So I would, if I'm going to pick up Anthony Richardson, I need to move off of 2 of these guys in the mid tier.
So as per our producer, Sean, that is the same thing as saying per sources. The Lions are receiving trade calls on running back DeAndre Swift, whose representatives have been in contact with the team about potentially moving to a new team with Detroit drafting Jahmyr Gibbs. The talented Swift appears poised to leave Detroit. Yeah, talented is one thing, but healthy is another. And per sources, he does not have that dog in him, from what I've been told.
I've heard it's not barking.
Yes, that is true. Sean, do we have any more comments? So Rob Z says, I have Bijan at the 1-1 and a 10-team start 9 Superflex. What should I pay to get Algier as his handcuff? My 304. Look, if you have anything after that,
Yeah.
start lower and then work your way up if need be. I mean, right now, this is one of those things where the Tyler Algier stands out there. That is a thing, saying the word stand. I learned that is from a song, by the way. Yeah, so they're disgusted. They're angry. They'll take less probably. If you got a 4th, 5th round pick, some fab, start there first, and then you can move to 3 or 4. Sean, what? Yep. So Shooter McGavin, Bijan owner, doesn't do handcuffs. Does that make my Tyler Algier a drop? No.
This just means you hold him till he needs him.
Yes.
And then it's like, well, do you still not do handcuffs? Foul.
And then you know what? I hope if Bijan misses a game, you're playing against him that week and you start Tyler Algier.
Or better,
Trade him
you
to
trade him to the person he's playing.
I love what I'm hearing. Sometimes being spiteful is the most fun thing to do in fantasy football.
Being spiteful
Sean, yeah, Reese
is
says,
talent.
I traded the 105 Calvin Ridley and Tyler Algier for Jamar Chase. I'm celebrating, baby, and you should be.
That's silly.
I love that trade for you.
Absolutely.
Great trade, Reese.
Silly,
Sean, keep these
silly.
coming. Owen says, who goes 102 in a super flex league? I need a quarterback and have the 102, 106, and 107. I mean, at the 102, it's quarterback of your choice, really. Whoever you like the most.
For me, it's Bryce Young. For Bob, it's probably CJ Stroud. For Zach, it might be Anthony Richardson. I don't know.
I'm going Bryce Young.
Bryce Young.
Yep.
Probably going Bryce Young, too, at that point.
F me, I guess.
Sorry, Bob. We love you.
See, Nate, I agree with you sometimes.
Dominic says, one quarterback, half-point PPR, start 7-12 team has Justin Jefferson, Jerry Jeudy, Michael Pittman, Deontay Johnson, CMC Dobbins, 102 and 104. Do I go Gibbs and JSN/Addison or JSN in the third best running back? What do you guys think here?
So, yeah, we're looking at, do we want Gibbs and possibly giving up the chance to get JSN and settling for Addison? Or do we want to go with JSN and then we give up the opportunity for Gibbs and we pick up Zach Charbonnet probably at that point?
The question here is, what does it take to get from 104 to 103?
Yeah.
What can we do to secure ourselves both?
Yeah.
True.
Because I think that's what you want. Start 7 especially.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to be settling on, players that.
Third best of anything.
Yeah.
I mean, can we move a 24 second to move up one
23 second even, like I think.
I mean, if we're a good team,
value.
I'm totally fine moving a 24 second.
Yeah.
In a one quarterback.
I'll move it 23.
That makes you a contender. I'm happy to make that move.
I'll move the 20.
I'll move the
201 to move up from 104 to 103.
Yeah.
Sean, what do you got for me? J-Dog, hey guys, in my rookie draft, Stroud is falling. Why?
Yep.
He just went second overall. I'm at the 108 and he's still available at the 106. Should I trade up to get him or stick and take Addison/QJ? Asking price to trade up is 2/3. I'll spend the 2/3.
Yup.
If that's the
Absolutely.
asking price for a starting franchise quarterback, I'm making.
Well,
it.
Is this a
but
super flex league?
I'm assuming.
It has to be super flex for him to fall. I would assume.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you make that deal right now,
Please.
And then
But if it is a super flex league, how is he falling
If it
after being
makes
the second overall pick?
Yeah.
because some people
every
think
draft
that
is
CJ
different.
Stroud, his S2 score matters.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I will say, if he just sent you this and you're like acting all giddy in his DMs or whatever, first send a third and a fourth, and then make him send those thirds back, so you don't seem too overexcited because he might second think that move
It's true.
a little
It's
bit,
true.
or counter you with more because the
Sure.
bait and switch is real.
Wow, that'd be a great deal.
I love that.
Collins back. J.K. Dobbins and Antonio Gibson are my top 2 running backs. Have the 103, 104, and 110, and 4 second rounders. Love that second round there. Do I stay put and take some running backs or trade up for Bijan?
Bijan.
Quality over quantity. Look, you answered your own question right here. If you can move up and get Bijan, and I think
Yeah,
J.K. Dobbins is going to
consolidate
have a
here.
good season, and Antonio Gibson, I like him as a running back 3 on your team. I'm not feeling confident starting him week after week. Make the move. You have all those second round picks. This is why you have a lot of draft capital, so you can make moves like this. Go get Bijan. Don't overthink it. Right, Sean? Sean agrees. EJD, 2 quarterback, 12 team. Is the 108 more valuable with 4 wide receivers going mid-first round?
Done hurt.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
you
I would agree with
you
that.
get your pick of the first round wide receivers of the 108. In a super flex league, you're gonna.
Maybe.
I mean, JSN's gonna be off the board. Addison or QJ might be off the board. One of them, because at the 107, Zach Charbonnet is going to be in there somewhere. I think.
Or like a running back very easily could slot it.
So I think at the 108, you're going to have your pick of the board,
and you might
especially
have running backs.
Josh Downs might have a nice landing spot. There might be another wide receiver who has a nice landing spot in day 2. So I think at 108, it is more valuable. You drop down the tier from those top 6 picks.
1,000%.
It's a bit of a drop.
Mhm.
But at the 108, you have your pick of the board, for better or worse. Because like if you're at the 108 and you don't have a specific wide receiver you want, moving down to the 110, 111 might even be the move, and picking up a 24 second or a mid early second.
Yep.
So
True. Sean, what do you got for us? Isaac, 14 team Superflex PPR start 8. Traded the 109 and 210 for Jordan Love. That is
Solid.
Bob approved.
like it.
Love it.
I have
Pun
the
intended.
104, 107, and 204.
True.
Not sure
It's
what
good
to do
value.
with the 104. JSN or quarterback. I have Dak, Deshaun/Love, Higgins, London, Christian Watson, Jameson Williams at wide receiver. Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, this could be a case of possibly moving back and getting some more draft picks.
Looking back.
Bob?
You got us stumped here, Isaac.
It's the start 8.
Yeah, so
You're
you
gonna have
want your
JSN
stuff.
sitting on your bench
Yeah.
potentially.
That's true. Yeah. I think you might want to look to even consolidate moving up some of those picks, or
Can
You
I
know,
put
or-
the 104 with Deshaun Watson or Dak Prescott and go get one of the top quarterbacks? Can I go get?
I think it's an overpay, but you probably. You mean like?
I mean, like
like-
Lamar Jackson. Can I get Jalen
Yeah,
Hurts?
I think
Can
you
I get Justin Herbert?
I think if you pair that 104, I think you have a shot. I don't.
I like what Nate's saying there because
Yeah.
I know Dak, let's say hypothetically in a startup goes in the first round, but he's not one of the elite quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't have that elite quarterback unless Deshaun Watson goes back to 4 years ago.
Which
So-
I don't think is totally unlikely.
To get one of those elite quarterbacks, to me, I think it would really help that team out. And it's a 14-team league.
I think when you
True.
put
So,
Dak or
good point.
Deshaun Watson with the 104, you can get anybody, just about.
Next question.
All right. So rebuilding this person. So Jason Pierce got 8 firsts, 8 seconds over the next 3 years. Congratulations.
Okay, Thanos.
Superflex PPR. We're rebuilding with St. Brown, AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson, Michael Pittman. Ooh, 23 picks of the 103, the 108, the 110, the 203, the 209. Thoughts on the 108 and 110 with those wide receivers already on the team?
I think you look to upgrade those. If you can't move up those picks, I think you look to upgrade the wide receivers you have. Mostly Michael Pittman, I think, is the one I'd be trying to upgrade. The 103, this was a super flex. Pretty happy going quarterback there.
Yep.
Take your pick between whatever's left between Richardson, Stroud, and Young. And then with the 108, the 110, I'm just not big on Pittman personally. I've never have been. With AR, maybe that's a fun opportunity to stack them up. But that's probably what I'm looking to do.
I think it depends on how many we're starting. If this is a start 10, start 11, I'm not
Yeah.
upgrading. I'm keeping my picks
Fair.
and just getting that depth, especially in a rebuild.
Mhm.
You know, especially with the wide receivers that are going to be available there. You know, if you can pick up Jordan Addison, if you can pick up Zay Flowers, I think those are good guys to get on a rebuild, and they're going to be producing for you in 2 to 3 years. You know, I mean, Addison is going to be producing this year.
For me, this is a situation where I don't know the running back situation or the quarterback situation, but I'm trying to move up to 101 to take Bijan here. You have a pretty solid stable of wide receivers, and you have capital to spend to try to get up to 101 to take Bijan.
You know
I mean,
what's
you're rebuilding, but your wide receiver room is set.
That's true. I mean, you might have a pretty quick turnaround if you have a decent
Yeah.
quarterback room here. Getting Bijan could be the quick turnaround for this team.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because all pre-draft process, we love Bijan, and we've said take Bijan when you can, but we have looked at the idea of trading out, and
Mhm.
we haven't really talked about the idea of trading up for Bijan this
Sure.
whole pre-draft process.
Sure.
But now with the Atlanta Falcons landing spot, we're over here saying it's worth trading for Bijan
Yeah.
because the expected volume is fantasy gold.
Yeah.
I mean, and for this to be labeled a rebuild with that wide receiver room, I don't know what everything else looks
I mean-
like, but like
That might be a reason we have 8 firsts.
right. But I would assume that you don't need wide receivers. So to stay put at 108 and 110, depending on what happens with the running backs in
Yeah.
this draft,
Mhm.
you have so much capital, not only in this draft, but 8 picks and 8 firsts and 8 seconds over the next 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Try to get Bijan.
Yeah.
Spend some first.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. All right. Producer Mike, what we got going on? All right.
Super chat.
So I don't know how
Appreciate
to say this
that.
guy's name.
Perpetual energy.
Thank you. There's a camera between me and the monitor here.
Yeah, sure. There is. Nate.
So thank you.
There it
Switching to a super flex next year. That's always a fun transition. Good luck with that. I personally hate that
Right.
transition. Might as well just start a whole new league, I think. But you've acquired the 101 and 102. So congratulations. In this year's draft, your current quarterbacks are Geno, Lance, Jimmy G. Do you need to take a quarterback at the 102? I would say yes.
yes.
But what do you guys think?
I think it's tough because your transition is not
Till
yet,
next year?
so I think it's tough to do that. It's almost tough to justify. Like, it makes sense value wise, like it should make sense, but I don't know, because I don't think it depends on what you think your league mates are going to do. Because if other quarterbacks are going to come off the board till later,
That's
why
true.
not?
If they're going to
Why
drop,
not stay here or trade out? That's
that's true. In this situation, if you can drop back to the 105, 106,
Mhm.
you probably can still pick up one of the top 3 quarterbacks. I'm assuming if other people aren't going quarterback
Yeah.
heavy.
and because this is one of the issues I have with these, super flex transitions, is because it is such an awkward transition to go from having the one quarterback perspective where quarterbacks just aren't valued as much, especially in rookie drafts. This is one of the situations where it really rears its ugly head of where, how to make that transition work when value is kind of in flux, because I don't think many people are going to treat them like they're super valuable or like they are super flex value until they are. And I think that, now's a good time to maybe send out some feelers, moving other pieces for quarterbacks at more affordable prices. It might be better to buy in on quarterbacks than to draft them right now. That's
a possibility too. I think if you end up taking a quarterback here at the 102, though, I'm okay with it because the value will be there next year. It's a year away.
Yeah.
If this is a competing team and you're trying to win this year, you probably do want to move out. But if you're not
do you though with the quarterbacks you have? I'm
not confident that Jimmy G is going to be a starting quarterback for me next year. I'm not confident that Trey Lance is going to be a starting quarterback for me next year, and I need to start at least 2 quarterbacks next year.
Yeah, this is league dependent. How does the league value quarterbacks right now?
Yeah.
Because if you can trade back to 105 and 106, get something more, and still take one of those quarterbacks. Oh, I'll help you out.
Figure it out.
If you can trade back to 105, 106, still get one of those quarterbacks and pick up something in that transition, but pick up a quarterback that in a year from now will be valued more than the 105 or 106. It's a great idea. You really have to know your league mates in this situation and how are they valuing the quarterbacks at this moment for us to answer that question. Because if nobody's valuing a quarterback at 102, then you should.
This is how you start. You trade back to the 103 and see what 102 does.
There you go.
Let them be the village idiot to try this out.
I don't want to be the first guy to draft a quarterback.
Exactly. And just keep trading back one spot. Even if it's only one small pick, it'll help. That's what I would do. Maybe.
All right, Sean, if you could bring me back up now. Andrew is saying I have the 101 and 106 in a 10-team Superflex start 9. Quarterbacks, Kyler and Watson. Running back, Brees and Etienne. Wide receiver, Justin Jefferson, Hollywood Brown, and Jerry Jeudy. Tight end, Mark Andrews. What do you do with the 106? Well, we know what you're doing at the 101. Go Bijan. It's pretty chalk. But the 106, what are we doing?
I need to read through this again. I'm sorry. I apologize. I was helping Sean figure some stuff out. I was not prepared.
Sean, you want to just drag, or am I staying on that side? I guess it doesn't matter.
We'll move you over.
It's okay. There you go.
Great content.
Let's hear it for our producer, Sean.
Well,
great job.
Now when I look at you, you're in the right way. Okay, good.
Hi. I'm ready.
No, you're the wrong way. See, that was this
now
way.
it is wrong. My bad. Well, we'll figure it out.
Thank you. Now I can look at Mike correctly.
I have the 101 and 106 in a 10-team Superflex start 9. Quarterbacks are Kyler and Watson. Running backs are Brees and Etienne. Wide receiver Justin Jefferson, Hollywood, and Jeudy. Mark Andrews. What do we do at the 106? Yeah, I think Bijan is pretty chalk here. I think 106 and a Superflex, you take whatever is there and you be happy with it. You're either getting JSN, you're either getting Jahmyr Gibbs, or you get a quarterback. All of those fit your team needs.
I agree. 100%.
You just take unless you like really have a preference on one of these players, you take whatever's there and you roll with it.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Best available.
It took us a long time to figure that out. I apologize.
Talking sports with Manny. I have a total rebuild squad with Trey Lance and Mac Jones as my quarterbacks. I have the 101, 107, 108. What do I do? Grab Bijan or quarterback. Tanking this year for 24, 101. I have 424 first and 624 seconds. Manny, I think you answered your own question. If you are tanking for the 101 next year, you're tanking for Caleb Williams. Okay. I'm drafting Bijan Robinson 100%, and I'm hoping for Caleb Williams at the 101. I mean, we obviously see what he does this year. Hopefully he doesn't get hurt, of course, anything like that. And Drake May could possibly surpass him. You never know.
Right there too. And, it seems kind of silly to say this on the day after the first round, but I would take Caleb Williams over any of these quarterbacks in this draft.
That doesn't sound silly at all because I agree with you.
Yeah.
Now, I agree.
I don't know how confident you truly feel you're going to get the 101, but you have 424 first. So even if you don't get the 101, you're going to be able to make it work.
You have ammo to move up.
So I think you go Bijan here, Trey Lance and Mac Jones. You're rebuilding. We go after quarterback next year. You might be able to grab Caleb Williams and Drake May next year, and that might be this reset.
You could, and without those picks too, you could grab a guy like Trayvon Henderson, Raheem Sanders too. There's going to be some decent running backs next year as well. So
be a good class next year.
You could continue to reload your quarterback and your running back room within the next year.
Do we want to see about possibly moving up that 107 and 108 to get to maybe 105 or 106?
I think what I'm doing with those picks is he has lottery tickets next year. Let's try and get as many as possible, because if he gets Bijan, he may be scoring some points this year. So he may not have 101, but if he has If he has other teams' first round picks, you have a chance of getting that 101 next year as well. So I'm using that 107 and 108 to try and not score points this year again.
Yep. Take points
And
off the
also
roster.
give me more lottery tickets next year. It's a twofold. You win two ways. You score less points and you have more lottery tickets next year.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't hate trading back, depending on what the rest of the team looks like. Maybe trading back in the second round, grabbing a Dalton Kincaid
Just grab a first round
late.
pick.
And look, just because you have these guys, it doesn't mean you have to start them. Obviously, you're going to start Bijan Robinson, but your other guys, you can put them on the taxi squad if tanking is your goal.
Put Bijan on there too.
Put Bijan on the taxi
You-
squad. I don't think it
if
goes
he's
against
eligible
the
in your
he's on the
league,
taxi.
I don't
Here's the
think so
thing:
either.
if you draft
Ooh.
Bijan Robinson and the rest of the league sees you putting him on your taxi squad, I guarantee there's going to be angry people.
Okay,
They can be angry, but
away then.
I'm just
yeah,
saying.
I mean, you just take the taxi squad away. Then this is. I had Jahmyr Chase in my taxi squad through his rookie season in one of my
how dare
rebuilds.
you?
Because why would I not? I'm going to be a dumb team. Like, come on, be smart.
All right, then Bijan into
Win.
the taxi squad. Right. So Justin,
Taxi squad
16
starter.
teams, Superflex PPR. Man, I'll tell you what, Superflex and 16 teams, that is tough. Top asset in the start 9. Top assets are Trevor Lawrence, DeAndre Swift, Isaiah Pacheco, Brian Robinson, Jerry Jeudy, George Pickens, the 116 and 224 first. WTF do I do?
So Justin, if you go into the description, there's a audit that we do. I recommend that.
Jesus.
Yes.
Bro.
Look, 16 teams, they're tough. And I do not like
Yeah.
16 team leagues. Admittedly, I am biased against them because it makes decisions like that harder. The first thing I'm trying to do, man, it's hard to move.
I think you need to get off Brian Robinson. I think just
You
for
think?
whatever you can at this point. I think the 116 you trade for a 24 first, whatever you can get. Maybe you can snag a second to get a reroll next year.
Mhm.
Pacheco is a guy I'm willing to try to sell on right now. Swift, let's see that trade go through, see what you can do for him.
Yeah, this team needs to wait for
It-
Swift to get traded first.
Yeah, this team
Yeah.
needs to, sell out, unfortunately,
I
and,
think
and
you
really
keep Lawrence.
restart.
But outside of that, everyone's for sale.
Unless you could
think-
you could tear down with Trevor Lawrence to like a Jared Goff plus a pick,
I wouldn't do Jared Goff.
Not Jared Goff, but
as an example.
I mean, I think if you can move T-Law for, I don't know, even 3
Dak.
first-round picks in a 16
Sure.
team super flex, I really want to hold on to Trevor Lawrence.
By
I
the
don't
way-
think you move on from Trevor Lawrence.
Did you know that Dakota Rain Prescott is the longest tenured quarterback in the NFC right now after Aaron Rodgers got moved? And he's only been in the league for like 7 years.
Trash conference.
Easy.
Yeah, easy, buddy. Sean? Okay, we got Patreon shout out to our man Coco Thunder. He can tell you how great the Patreon is. Hope to see you there. We need 4 more so we could live stream Bob's reactions to the Packers pick. Bob, I'm the boss. You can't tell me no. One quarterback. Is JSN still the 102 over Gibbs after round 1? I mean, Gibbs did get that landing spot that we still don't know about 100%. But as I said before, DeAndre Swift they're getting the calls. So
This is where I think you need to change the mindset of best player available, because it's obviously subjective at the end of the day. The best value available is Jahmyr Gibbs. He is going to be more valuable than JSN off the rip.
okay.
And I don't know if that lasts forever. I don't think it really does, because I do think JSN reaches that next level. But I think you take Jahmyr Gibbs, because here's the fact of the matter is that you draft Jahmyr Gibbs and somebody drafts JSN later, you can trade Jahmyr Gibbs for JSN plus.
Yeah.
And that to me at the end of the day, when I already prefer JSN as a player, that's a tiebreaker for me. Or you just stay on Jahmyr Gibbs if you prefer him. I think it makes more sense to draft Gibbs, as much as it breaks my freaking heart. Draft Gibbs over JSN because of that immediate production, the value that's already there. I think that's
Yeah.
just
I have a question.
What?
Who would you rather have right now, JSN or Chris Olave?
Like on the Packers.
No,
No,
on your team, on your dynasty.
on your fantasy team. Bob.
JSN or Chris Olave?
I
I know the answer to that question for the Packers.
I mean, again, it'd have to be Chris Olave based on the value. Like I can't say, if you want to say, well, JSN and first next year,
I would take that.
obviously.
Yeah.
But like, right now, tit for tat, I'd say Chris Olave, although I do believe that we see JSN surpass him at some point. So I'd want to find a way from Olave to JSN, getting that plus asset on top, whatever it might be, is fair. That's what I'd want to do. So, but 1 for 1, you got to take Olave right now.
Yeah, I think we with Gibbs, he is certainly the 102. I think he's locked into that spot
Yeah.
here, because let's just simplify it. Detroit Lions drafted a running back at 12. Dan Campbell's the head coach. And there's no real long-term competition there. And you hear that, and you got Jared Goff, who has one of the lowest ADOTs in the league, and is going to be checking down to Jahmyr Gibbs all the time.
Yeah.
It's fantasy gold. It's NFL gold. David Montgomery is going to be there, but we've seen this a million times where someone gets drafted
Maybe not that many.
first round, and
Thousands
the
times.
veteran who's in there for the fifth,
Hundreds.
sixth year, they fade. They fade away. It happens. I'm not worried about it.
So we're probably going to be wrapping up the live stream in about 10 minutes or so. But Sean, what do you got? Dominic, I'm the guy with the 102 and 104 from earlier. Problem is I can't get up to the 103. Not even for 24 first. I got 424 first. So rather Gibbs or rather JSN at the 102.
Can you get from the 104 to the 101?
Ooh.
Is my follow-up question.
Yeah.
What are you gonna pay? Are you gonna pay 104 and 224 first for Bijan?
I think you probably have to, and I don't even hate it. I think you take
You have the ammunition to do
you
it.
find a way to
you can make it happen.
You project which of those is going to be the latest to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
And I think you send those. You send the 104. I think it's a very compelling offer. I don't remember the team's
I can't remember.
situation.
If you're a contending team or a team that's turning around right now, I think that's a good move for Bijan.
I will, and I just think just get the better freaking asset.
Yeah.
Lock it in.
Sure.
I think
Lock it
locking
in.
in Bijan right now.
But
Just-
Gibbs in a nutshell, because we did just
answering the question.
Yeah. Sorry to
Gibbs.
actually answer the question.
to not cop out.
Darth Desmond, I have Dak, Pickett, and T-Law as my quarterbacks. In
A
a super
YouTube channel member right there.
Oh, awesome. That's what that
Thank
logo
you.
is. Cool. Great. Thank you for your support. Starting over, I have Dak, Pickett, and T-Law as my quarterbacks in a super flex 12 team. Don't have any picks except the 206. Do I need to focus on quarterback or am I ready to go elsewhere? Also have Purdy and Darnold on the bench with a little throw up face.
I mean,
I mean,
look,
look, with
Darnold, maybe.
look-
I don't mind Purdy.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, with the way
Yeah.
Superfly or San Francisco plays, I mean, they run through quarterbacks out there like crazy. So I don't hate it.
True.
But so I don't think you
You're
need to
good.
focus on quarterback right now. To be honest with you, I try to get a 24 first and draft one of those guys. To be honest with you,
I
to
don't think
keep
we need to worry
restocking.
about quarterback at all. I mean, I got Dak and T-Law as my top two quarterbacks I'm happy with. And then you got Pickett as your quarterback 3. I'm more than happy with that at the current moment, looking at what he's got going on in his future.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to touch quarterback at all. Then you got Purdy as your quarterback 4, who has the chance to start for a Kyle Shanahan offense. And based on his production last year, if Purdy does start, I think you can move off one of these quarterbacks. You can move off Purdy. You can move off Pickett.
Purdy would be the one I'd move.
Yeah, I would move
Yeah,
off
I
Purdy
agree with
before
that.
Pickett probably. But I think if Purdy is the starter, I think I could probably go either way depending on whatever one gives me the best value. Because I'm good with T-Law and Dak. I don't have to focus on having a top tier quarterback 3 on this team.
And if you have the 206, I think there's going to be some decent value there to kind of fill
Mhm.
your team out.
Yeah,
Keep
you
going there.
might be able to pick up a day 2 running back at that point. There's definitely going to be some wide receivers available.
It's
Tight end might be
you're
available.
either going to have a great tight end to pick from,
Yep.
you're going to have great wide receivers, or you're going to have great running backs.
Yep.
The 206 will be a locked and loaded pick this
Yep.
year.
Yeah, I agree. All right.
Super chat.
Yes, super chat. Thank you. So this is from Ace Superflex. Start 9. Have Herbert, Tua, Walker, Jacobs, Waddle, Higgins, and
Ooh.
Andrews. Wow,
Good team.
love this team.
Congrats.
Have picks 1, 6, and 8. Would love to pair Quentin Johnston with Herbert. Tell me, who do you draft?
Bijan.
Bijan.
And
At
then
106, you
Gibbs
take BPA.
or JSN.
Yep. BPA from that top.
And
6
you could
tier.
probably get Johnston at the 108. I
You-
think.
Yeah,
You might have to move up a pick.
maybe.
You might have to move up a pick.
Yeah.
If you do, I don't think it's much. I think you send a second this year or next. I think
Yep.
you can flip that pick.
Hell of a team too, man.
Great team.
Like, seriously, I love this team and a start 9. I mean, I would like to know, was this team in the championship last year or probably close? I'm assuming you did not earn that 101, probably traded for it at some point.
Traded for it before it was the 101.
Yeah, for sure, because
Why?
that
Well,
team is not getting the 101.
This is a team that probably had a lot of first round picks and used them to acquire some of those players.
Yeah, it's possible.
At the 8 here, if I was picking, I would probably be looking at Jordan Addison myself. But if you want Quentin
Over
Johnston,
Quentin Johnston? Okay.
I'd pick
Even to
Jordan
pair
Addison.
with
Even
Herbert?
with the stack, I'd still want Addison, but I think Johnston's a good pick still at the 108.
Yeah, if that's how you want to do it, you want to pair him with the quarterback, you want to do the stack. I don't hate
That
that
makes
at
sense.
the 108.
Didn't make the playoffs.
Was in a
Responding to your
4-way
question.
tie and won the toilet bowl. Really? So there must be some stacked teams in this league. Some guys doing some good drafting, or maybe points for, points
Well,
against.
also,
However,
we got to remember Justin Herbert did not have a good season last year.
I was looking at, if you look at Justin Herbert game by game, there was a couple games where he scored less than 10 fantasy.
There was a
points.
stretch
I think
there,
that changes
middle of the
this year.
season, end of the season, where he didn't throw like a passing touchdown, I think, for 3 or 4 games.
I think there was a couple games where he was missing a lot of his guys too, as far as wideout wise. So I think Justin Herbert turns that around. And, obviously that could factor into the Quentin Johnston pick by the Chargers. They see that there's a need. Mike Williams, not always the picture of health. Same thing with Keenan Allen.
And easy outs after this year too.
Yeah, that's true.
Things
So
like those.
all of a sudden you think about all these things that Quentin Johnston's stack and pairing doesn't look as bad. Okay, what do we got? What are you saying, Sean? Okay, we got TN. I hope I'm saying that right. Hopefully. Okay, all right. And you have the 105.5 point PPR, 18 league. I have Ramondre Stevenson, Nick Chubb, Akers, and Dobbins, Watson, Deshaun Jackson, and Jordan Love at quarterback. Devontae Adams, Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown, DK Metcalf, Debo Samuel, Ayuk, and Deontay Johnson. Sorry.
Respect.
I want to trade up for Bijan. Let's see. Got the 105. So what plus the 105 gets you? All right, so 208, 303, and 404 as well. What gets him to the 101? I mean, do you move on from one of these running backs?
Yeah, keep in mind, so those second round picks are a little more valuable too.
All the picks are more valuable.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not as much the early ones, but
Well, the third
after
is kind of
yeah,
like a
right,
early
yeah,
third,
after
late second.
after the
Yeah.
first round, yeah, they're all more valuable.
Yes, I'm trying to move off some of these running backs.
Is this super flex?
I'm
assuming
assuming
those
based on the
quarterbacks.
quarterback group.
Yeah. But then again, with it being an 8-team league, I could see you having the ability to get more quarterbacks as well, because not as many are going to
sure, it's not as
be
scarce.
rostered. Yeah. Man, I'm looking at this. Nate, are you trying to figure out how to get up there? Yeah, that's kind of a tough
What do you
one.
guys think about the 104? What was the second
The
round pick?
105.
105.
105. And our second round pick, Ramondre Stevenson. I think that's a great starting point.
Yeah, I would rather have Bijan Robinson than
Just upgrade
Ramondre
the running back
Stevenson.
position.
Yeah,
I think
Perfect.
that you have to way overpay in this situation.
You're going to have to.
For
Way
sure.
overpay.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you're going to have to overpay,
And,
but
like,
you're getting a
For me,
generational
that
talent.
deal doesn't get it done. Like, you have to ask yourself this question: would you take that? Would you take 105, Ramondre, and what was the other?
I mean, you might, depending on the team situation.
The thing is
It's
It is not super
It's
flex.
Bijan.
Oh,
it
it's even
doesn't.
part
It,
of them.
and that why 105 hurts a little bit.
Yeah,
more.
I would try to move maybe like Deshaun Watson if
Debo?
that
It-
team.
no value in a 18
No,
month
I mean, I'm trying to move off Debo or Ayuk, trying to get one of those guys off my team
Yes.
with the 105 to try to move up to the 101. So we got the 105, one of Debo, Ayuk. We got a second round pick in there. I think that's the starting offer. And then we go up from there. And if we need to throw a running back in with that, I don't mind throwing. I would love to throw Akers in there, number one. I would love
I would
to.
love to move off
let's
him.
put it
Go
this way.
ahead, Akers, Ayuk or Debo, the 105, your second round pick. Throw that and see where we get.
Let's simplify this. What would you not trade? For me, it's Amon-Ra St. Brown,
Jamar
and
Chase.
DK.
and that's it.
DK.
Yeah, DK Chase.
Okay,
Yeah.
I would be willing to
Lamar.
include DK if I had to.
Probably keep Lamar
Yeah.
and even
I would
even
keep
being
Lamar-
one quarterback.
One quarterback,
Because instead
not
of telling
Lamar
all these players,
Jackson, I would keep
who,
him as well.
Who do we not include in a trade?
Yeah, just those core.
That is a good way to think about it too. Whenever you're putting a trade together in any situation, who am I not?
See, then we have the other issue then of you with these pieces. There are a lot of older pieces on this team and pieces that are kind of not great value assets right now. Akers, Dobbins, Devontae Adams getting older, suppressed value for some. For me, I don't value him as highly as others. Debo, not a great year. Ayuk had a fine season. Deontay Johnson did not.
Mhm.
So I mean, you're hard pressed to move off this. I think you might have to look at moving DK Metcalf to even get a conversation started here. I think you need to talk about DK Metcalf and the 105. And I think the thing about this too is you either really like the question here is not to get up to Bijan. The question is here, do you push this season or not? Because looking at this team layout, we have Chubb, going downward in value. Akers kind of in flux, but downward in value. Dobbins could go either way. Quarterbacks are fine. Devontae Adams going downward in value. Debo Samuel on a value drop, getting older and maybe proving that he isn't the asset we thought he was last year. So I think there's more consideration here than trading up for Bijan. That would not be my first concern.
Yeah, I think with a start 8, Was it start 8? No, it's 8-team league. So
8-team.
I don't know how many we're starting, but we definitely got some. If it's a smaller start, then I'm willing to move off of like 2 of these players in addition to the first.
And the thing is, I think, to make a 1-year run, you have pieces for that. I'm not too concerned about the 1-year window. It's more like the 2-3 year window that I'm really like, we need to consider some things. And being an 8-team league, you're kind of more in it than you're not, more often than not. So I think making the move for Bijan, I think for me, it's like DK and 105 is probably your starting offer. And I think you probably end up having to throw a running back in there too, maybe Akers.
Yeah.
To replace the running back they're not drafting.
Yeah, Akers is the guy I would love to move off of the most on this team.
Same.
I would probably want to move off Akers ASAP because I think they draft somebody this weekend.
I think they could be a team that trades for DeAndre Swift.
I mean, look,
or draft somebody.
They were talking about moving on from Cam Akers last year.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it was cut him last year.
Yeah, and I mean, this is definitely a circumstance where we could see him getting replaced, and this is definitely the draft class to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
So that was our last one. So if we couldn't get to your questions, we do apologize, but we will be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. again for another live stream. Thank you to everybody that tuned in. Enjoy the draft. Hopefully you enjoyed day 1. Enjoy day 2. Enjoy day 3. We'll be back again, like I said, tomorrow at 10, Sunday morning at 10 a.m. as well. So hope to see you guys then. Remember, 4 more patrons. We get some Bob live stream when the Packers pick. Who, like, Zach got to see it, Nate got to see it, I got to see it. Sean, you weren't here yet.
It only costs $10 to get in for a whole year.
Yeah, listen, the Discord, the 1-year discount deal is $10.80. Just imagine. You're not getting value like that anywhere else. Okay.
You can have these questions that you're asking right now answered anytime.
Yep.
That is true. Unless I'm sleeping, in which case I can't answer your question.
Well, then Bob will be away.
We'll get
to you. Don't worry.
Yeah, Zach doesn't sleep, so he will answer all your questions. And the best thing about being in a group chat with Zach is you get a 10-page thesis on Hendon Hooker. So until tomorrow, everybody, for Zach, Bob, Nate, I'm your host, Michael Bauer. Be kind, please rewind. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the draft, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks for listening to the Dynasty Rewind. Please make sure you subscribe, rate, and review. And as always, be kind, please rewind.